Welcome back to our second part of our deep dive on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. In this one, we will be exploring the films that redefined Leatherface for a new generation. Starting with the brutal 2003 remake, from here we will trace the evolution of the series through its various reboots, prequels, reimaginings, examining how each film sought to capture the raw terror of the original. Whether it succeeded or not is another story. With entries like Texas Chainsaw 3D and Leatherface in 2017, all the way to the newest movie that was Netflix's 2022 return, we will delve into how these films expanded the mythology of the Sawyer family while trying to maintain the franchise's iconic blend of gore and psychological horror. I thought Tom was doing a sign language for me on the video. That's what I actually thought he was doing, but I don't think he was. How are you, sir?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I hate saying I'm okay because I feel like I've been sick for so long that the minute I say that, I'll get some like witch's hex on me or something.
You should have that My Chemical Romance song playing. Helena, I'm not okay. You know?
I literally thought that song was called that. I didn't realize it was called. Where'd you get that?
What do you think?
Spirit Halloween, folks.
Yep. Pretty gnarly, eh? It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know that I noticed it beforehand and Tom was too mean. He wouldn't show it to me.
It's pretty good.
And then I'm wearing this like really cheap.
Billy would hate that.
Would he?
Nirvana? He hates Nirvana.
Of course he does. Of course you do, Billy.
This is delicious. In my Strange Brew podcast beer cup. So good, man.
It's something weird anyway. I already know. So tell the audience what it is.
It is it's that Dr. Pepper drink or whatever, but it's like good Dr. Pepper. It's not real Dr. Pepper. It's like there's no fake stuff in it. It's made with like cane sugar and like real ingredients. And it's peanut butter whiskey. It's so good, man.
Oh, that sounds so gross to me.
It's so good. I feel like you would love it, man.
You make fun of me for drinking cans of moobs, and then like you'll drink that.
Yeah, it tastes so good, man. I like. Somebody told me you have to try it. It sounds weird. Peanut butter whiskey and like a Dr. Pepper. So we have like this pop brand that is like there's not really fake stuff in it. So we got that and I was like, I have to try this. And it is the bee's knees, man. Bzz, bzz.
I don't know now. Is it not super sweet?
No, it's not. Because the pop is not that sweet, right? Because it's like
pop.
It's not like real Dr. Pepper. What you call it, soda?
No, I was literally just thinking, I was like, right, I laughed at pop. I was like, we don't call it soda either. Can you guess, right? I'll give you 3 guesses as to what we call like Coke
told me this before,
or Pepsi or any like, carbonated drink.
Not alcohol.
I'll give you 3 guesses.
It's not beer. Is that?
No, that's one gone.
You've told me this before.
And it's like
fizzy drink. Fizzy drink. Yep. That's it.
Yeah, fizzy drink.
It's fucking pop, bro.
It's the same as like we don't say store. Like if you wanted a Dr. Pepper, let's say, what would you say? You'd be like, I'm going to the store to get a soda or a pop.
I go into the store to get a pop.
Right. So then our version of that would be, I'm going to the shop to get a fizzy drink.
So weird.
It's so strange. Even when I say it now, I'm like, that sounds really weird.
And you guys helped found Canada. You helped settle Canada.
Which is crazy because like we're all dunces, so it's like really weird that we built half the world. Well, that's probably why.
I know. Just use as slave labor.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get you to go into the Civil War. You're like, no, I'm going to Canada.
And now they're trying to get us to do it again.
Yep.
Brilliant. Okay, well, before I get started on that, let's move on.
Yes.
What we're actually going to talk about in this episode, and we're going to start with probably my personal favorite, I would say, out of all of these movies. Dare I say, prefer it more than the original film. I'll probably get some angry message about that, but yeah, we're talking about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003 remake, released on October 17, 2003, directed by Marcus Nispel, produced by Michael Bay, of all people. Cinematography done again by Daniel Pearl, who was actually the cinematographer on the original movie. Production company Platinum Dunes, distributed by New Line Cinema. Runtime of 98 minutes, an estimated budget of $9.5 million, and it grossed approximately 107.1 million worldwide. So that's, to break that down, that's 80.6 million domestically and then 26.5 million internationally, which seems very low for an international. Like, it only made 26 million worldwide, or
Yeah.
like, just like outside of North America, which seems quite low considering Terrifier just made 20 million in like a weekend.
Yeah, it's weird, man. Who knows? Maybe I'll go see it on my birthday since I know you're wanting to
Do it,
dive
do
into
it,
that
do it,
next. We'll
do
have
it.
something special for you guys though before that I really want to do. Yeah, I gotta say the remake is pretty gnarly. It's a pretty good film, and I feel like I remember watching it again. It's like it's always with that kid Austin because it's the kid I grew up with. Where it's like always him, but I definitely like because we were the ones that were into it. Like he would when his dad would let us kind of push the boundaries on what we could watch at the age that we were. So at 2003, so I was 12. So yeah, I definitely watched this as soon as it came out on DVD. And I do remember having, I was gonna get it. Damn, I had the DVD that I used to have before I lost all my movies, and my mom took them away. That happened too. And it had like it folded out like a chainsaw, like the chainsaw folded out, it had a chainsaw on the front, and then how the crime scene photos. Oh, I wish I brought that upstairs.
Yeah.
It's downstairs. It's a pity. But I remember watching it, definitely renting it maybe with Austin, and then I wanted the DVD, and I remember either buying it or getting it. I got it from Sunrise at this record store, and it came in the metal case, and I thought it was sweet. I was like obsessed with this movie when it first came out, but it was pretty freaky, honestly.
So I think I'm going to say something that I don't find controversial, but other people probably will. I think this might be
Everything's
the
controversial.
best horror remake.
I would say one of the best. Yeah, I would. I
What would
tend
you
to
say is
agree.
what would you say is in contention with this then?
You got your Nightmare on Elm Street, man. Amazing. So good. Just kidding. I actually, it's
Vision
hard.
or
It's hard to say, really. As a remake,
I don't think
2009's Friday 13th is okay, but I
yeah,
don't
no, I
think
like
there's
that,
many.
but I don't know if I feel
No,
like this tops
this
them
is
all.
way better.
I genuinely think this is probably the best horror remake there has been.
I would say so too. I can't even think of one where I'm like,
Which is
it's
kind of funny, like, because, people always shit on Michael Bay being like, "Oh, it's all just explosions and, like, dumbass shit," and I'm like, "Yeah, but technically speaking, putting somebody like that behind, like, the making of a movie called Texas Chainsaw Massacre mightn't actually be a bad idea."
yeah, I know.
And,
But
like, this proof was in the pudding.
I do think that you're right. This is probably one of the best remakes to ever exist. And they could have won a very it could have been horrible, but it seemed like what's his name, the director seemed to have he seemed to really understand what he wanted to go for. And I was watching a little doc about it. I was watching behind the scenes on the DVD, a little
Mhm.
like of the movie. And was he's like Swedish or something, or German, something like that? Somewhere over there.
Who are you talking about?
The director.
He's German, I think.
Sure. Okay, yeah, because I was gonna say it was like
Like,
something over
German.
there.
But sure, he also, I assume, like, you probably already know this, but he also directed the Friday the 13th remake.
Actually, I feel like I did know that, but I just
Yeah.
couldn't remember.
Yeah, he
And
also
well,
done the 13th remake, which is another
we
one of those
could
movies I love, so I'm like, "Why didn't they just let him do fucking Nightmare on Elm Street as well?"
I know. That would have been awesome. And we'll get there at some point with the remake of Friday 13th because we said there's some that we're going to hold back on. There's another Nightmare on Elm Street that we have not covered in our deep dive yet. So there's things coming for that side. I'm not happy until every stone's turned. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We can
Do
look
you know
under
what
the
else is
stone, see what's under
mental?
there.
That this was his feature film debut.
And it's a pretty good one because he was doing like music videos and stuff too.
That's all because, like, I had seen that he was doing, like, we had, like, a famous, like, Irish pop star over here called Ronan Keaton, and like
Yeah.
he was directing music videos for him like the year before making this, and I'm like, how did you land that job?
I know. And it's I don't know. I feel like it's really well done. This is something that also I was probably looking at the website and waiting
Oh
for it to come out. The trailer really got people
so
interested in the
freaky.
film, especially that one where they were just it was just the noise where
Yeah,
they were
yeah.
just like, and it was in the dark, and like that freaked out audiences where it was just like people screaming and running around, and it seemed like it was all around you in the theater, and then the chainsaw starts revving up, you know?
That's those weird like black and white flashback police footage, like recovered footage and all.
Mhm.
Like I remember seeing this like probably maybe the year after it came out or something. I'm not sure. And by the time it made it over here on like DVD and stuff,
Yeah.
and I remember seeing it and like just being so freaked out by those scenes that like recovered police footage thing.
Yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
feel
The beginning, and that's why I wrote down the beginning definitely makes you get into it, makes it feel real. And I feel like at the time I was 12, I didn't know what this is based off of yet. And then I obviously found out, I think not long after that it was based off Ed Gein, the Plainfield Butcher. Uh, but I was too young to not understand this was. I thought it was a real thing, right? I thought this was like probably based off a real story. So looking at the IDMB, the guy who plays Leatherface has a very douchey photo. Andrew
oh yeah,
Brynarski.
yeah.
Brynarski.
Um,
He did a good job either way, but
yeah, I'll no, I'm not gonna say it on the episode. I'll tell you after we stop recording. I had like a kind of a weird, funny interaction with him. I
oh,
wouldn't,
yeah,
I wouldn't say funny, quite aggressive interaction with him on the
weird.
internet.
Oh, wow, that's not good. You're like,
Uh,
this is my favorite remake, but you were horrible.
yeah, was in. I don't know. He wasn't in Hot Water, but supposedly he can be a bit of a douche.
He
Um,
looks like it.
yeah. Let me see if I can pull up while we're on. What did we say his name was again?
Andrew
Andrew.
Brynarski. Brynarski. Jessica Biel was a fox, man. Definitely.
Oh yeah, for sure. I feel like the casting in this was like really good.
Yeah,
To be
no,
fair,
I agree with that too.
um, I mean, you had Jonathan Tucker plays Morgan, the
I
like
actually love
little
Jonathan Tucker.
him.
He does such a good job. What made me love Jonathan Tucker, I was gonna mention this. I didn't know we are gonna get it right away. I've never seen The Ruins. I would watch that just because he's in it. But this movie made me really like his acting ability, and he did such a good job, man. When he's like spitting out like teeth, and when he's talking, he's like spitting and stuff like that. And that whole scene where he's gonna put the gun in his mouth, he was like forcing himself to throw up like on cue.
Yeah.
And it's like weird, wild dedication. But what made me like him even more is there's a movie Hostage, and he does
Mhm.
such a good job at like the friend of like the one of the guys that they're going to break into a house is with Bruce Willis. I never saw that movie in theaters, and I actually really liked it where I had to like go out my way to try to find it when it came out and stuff like that. And I think it just shows that he has some pretty good he has chops. He's
I
got
don't
them
know if
acting
we
chops.
I don't know if we talked about this before, but have you ever seen that MMA TV show Kingdom?
No, no.
He plays one of like the lead characters in that, and that show is worth watching just for how good he is.
He's a really good actor. He was
Yeah,
he
really
was in
good.
a show. I think I watched most of it. It was called The Black Donnellys, and it was just like in the future based on this Irish family that owned this bar, but it's based off of a real story in Lucan, Ontario. Me and Billy talked about it, if anyone's interested. Not it you would be able to find just on audio. But they were feuds back when settlers started coming to Canada, and then they were like people were trying to they just settled on this land, and they got into feuds, and were like stealing people's horses, and then the house burnt down, and like there was like no survivors, and no one's really sure really who did it, but they have an idea. The dad was in trouble, and he'd dress up like a woman and pretend to farm the land like he was the wife so no one would notice. It's a wild story, but he was good in that. I like him. He was
Yeah,
amazing in this.
and like he's very good in this, and like I
So good.
if you were to, I'll answer this question first before I ask you.
Mhm.
If you were to liken yourself to a character, in this film, who would you say your reaction would probably most like mirror? And I'm going to go ahead and say his character of Morgan. There's no point in me
Yeah.
saying that if I was confronted with like the old dude with no legs and the sheriff and Leatherface, that I would be any other way than the way Jonathan Tucker's character acts. Probably puking, pissing my pants, snots all over me.
Yeah, I think he's what most people will react like. I don't know. I feel like I could pull off an Andy maybe, where you just kind of like tough it out, but I don't want the hook through my back.
Yeah, you see, I feel like Andy tries to be too cool.
Yeah, that's probably what I would be like.
I'm
Too
there
cool for
crying,
school.
covered in piss and shit and everything, and Tom is going like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go save the chicks."
And then I get put on a meat hook, and that hurt that guy's back too. Like them having to hang him on there, it was like killing his back. And they said like just the way they had him hanging with the harness, it was like messing up his back, and he was in pain the entire time. He said he's never felt anything more painful. And then when they were like, "Well, we can take you down and redo it or whatever," he didn't. He's like, "No, if I get off this, I'm not gonna be able to go back up."
He he's the one in the scene, isn't it, where his toes are like hitting the piano keys?
Yeah,
That's him, isn't it?
yeah. That's a
Yeah.
creepy, eerie. That's eerie
I know,
too.
yeah, it's like really unsettling. It's like, why is this even a thing?
There's a bunch of scenes that are unsettling in this film, and the one thing I could say that I don't like, that I feel like I could want, but it seems like it's a different movie. So, but like they chose not to do the family scene
Mm.
of all eating dinner, which was very reminiscent of like the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre and what made it bizarre and weird. I think that's why maybe this one does hold its own, because it is very different in a lot of regards to the original. They made it their own thing, man. Especially the sheriff, man. Sheriff Hoyt. That guy
Actually, yeah,
is a
he's so good.
psycho.
Orly Army,
Yeah.
he's such a good actor and he plays that character so well. And like he really, because I don't think he trumps Leatherface in this as in like a better character, but he definitely adds
Dude.
like, the fact that we don't have Chop Top or
Yeah.
characters like that, he definitely adds that kind of feel to it.
So
I don't
good.
know. I'm trying to think here if I'm trying to pick who you would be. And I'm not sure if you would be Jedediah, which is the little goofy kid with the weird teeth, or if you'd be Monty, which isn't that the old dude with no legs? I
Hmm.
feel like you're the old dude with no legs and you're like grabbing Jessica Biel's ass and all with your piss bag. That's
Maybe.
so gross when he's emptying that piss bag into the toilet.
Yeah, I know.
It's
Nasty.
all like lumpy and like brown and stuff.
It
And I'm
is
like,
so weird because we learn about what happens to his legs in like in the next one, which you don't think about till like you're actually watching it. Um, I feel like realistically at the time, especially when I watched this, I would have been like that little boy with the gnarly teeth and inbred and being like, "I'll help you." Can you show me your
all
tits
the
though?
rats and all.
It's so
He
weird.
looks so weird as well. It's like freakish. He
I
reminds me
know.
of every time I see him, I'm like, you know what? If you cut his hair off, he'd look like that Bat Boy thing.
Yeah.
Remember that weird Bat Boy from like Weird News Daily or whatever it
I
was?
have an episode if we ever want to cover that.
That shit, man, that gave me nightmares growing up.
So weird. I can't even find the little boy in IND. Oh, there he is. That guy's in a bunch of stuff in Jedediah.
But he's probably about 60 now, is he?
He's a weird looking dude. Drill Bit Taylor. Oh yeah, I remember him in that.
I
So
remember
weird.
Chuck Liddell was in that.
Such a
I went
weird
to go
movie.
see that movie.
Galaxy Quest. That's also I remember. That's funny. The Ring too. He's in The Ring. That's why I remember him. He's that little creepy ass boy that you just want to hoof into the corner. You know what I mean? Throw it to
Um,
a fireplace and start it up.
This film was once again shot in and around Austin, Texas, and took place over several weeks in the summer of 2002. One thing I will say as well, I love that big plantation style house and the way
That's
they
very
shoot it all the time. They have that angle that like angles up from the ground, and I feel like it makes the house look even more like
it's
scary.
massive.
Yeah, it's freaky looking.
Imagine owning slaves on that thing, man. It'd be awesome.
Whoa. Whoa.
Just kidding. Only 0.09 of white people
I
own
need to
slaves.
get one of those record scratches for when you say stuff like that.
I've where's the
Yeah, something like that.
rewind? Obviously, I was kidding. Everybody, calm down for everyone screaming at the radio. But like, there's a house not far from me. There's a I could it would be very controversial, but I could tell you who owned the most slaves, but it was not for this show.
Let's check out Strange Brew podcast.
Yeah. Go do that if you want to hear some really offensive stuff. But there's a house not far from me, and it's not as big or anything like that, but it has those like pillars and stuff like that out front. And it always, even the wife agrees that it like reminds us of like a kind of like a haunted house, like or one of those like old creepy houses. It does kind of look like this house. It's just obviously it'd be like if it was like a condensed and put in a smaller scale, but just an old kind of wartime house. And it's like it's pretty crazy because like I couldn't imagine living in a house like even that. So I couldn't imagine this one where it's literally massive.
Yeah, there's just I don't know. I really like that idea. I like that they kind of changed it up because obviously I don't think in any of the rest of them up to that point it was like really set in that big of a house.
Yeah.
And I feel like it just added something to it. And I could kind of I think the thing that helped with that as well was you could see stuff happening to characters in different rooms and believe that they were all inside that massive building. You know, it didn't seem like a stretch, like, for the guy to be, like, underground in, like, a weird massive basement thing or somebody to be in a freezer room or whatever it was. It seemed like, well, yeah, it's a huge house, so I assume all those things are in there.
Yeah, and I would say that too. And it kind of makes it believable that they own like the slaughterhouse and stuff like that. And at one point, their family was probably making a lot of money and a lot of inbred kids. You know, it's fun times for everybody. Because if you have free work, it's like you have all these kids, so you can have hands on the farm, to slaughter the cows and stuff like that. Jedediah is sticking his hand deep in the cow, but just be, when he's like 2 years old, helping out.
Need to get a little jingle. I'm just thinking of it here when I'm looking at the taglines, and I'm about to pull it up on screen. I want to get a little jingle that has, like, Tom's taglines.
Yes.
We need to make it like cringy radio jingles.
I'll put on one right now. This is all copyright free, so don't worry, because we've gotten dinged before.
No wonder that's copyright free. Christ. Well, let's do it anyway. Tom's taglines for Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003.
Inspired by a true story. What you know about fear doesn't even come close. You want scary? This is scary. If terror is what you want, terror what you'll have. That was Tom's taglines.
I feel like my favorite there was probably what you know about fear doesn't even come close.
Yeah. What you know about fear doesn't. It's okay.
None of them are really that great, to be honest. But
I know there's only a few films where I'm like, that's like, even the Nightmare on Elm Street one that we covered in the deep dive. It's like there was one or two that I was like, okay, that's decent, but some of them are so bad.
Yeah, kinda.
If terror is what you want, terror is what you'll get. Jessica Biel in that fucking top, man.
I know, yeah.
Those jeans and that thing back in the day. This was more of like I feel like a 70s, 80s thing and 90s, but like just the jeans riding on the hips and the hip bones.
Not gonna lie, I also really did like Erica. The other chick.
Pepper?
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Pepper, yeah.
Where did I get the name Erica?
Like she was a good actress. But you mean in another way?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see
that. Way.
Yeah, the redhead. Man, Jessica Biel, I just remember that outfit that she's wearing really got me when I was a kid.
You'll be surprised to know that this received mixed reviews from critics. Some praised its intense atmosphere and Jessica Biel's performance, while others criticized it for lacking any originality and raw impact. However, it was generally seen as a successful reboot that brought the franchise back to prominence. The film was a major commercial success, grossing over 100 million worldwide on a relatively modest budget, and it played a key role in revitalizing the horror genre in the early 2000s.
It's a like, I don't know. I find that it is original. Like it is just it's a slasher film, but there is it's a very original take. All the actors are pretty decent, and if it was like say a Nightmare on Elm Street the remake, and they just used very lowbrow, you could say, or just like not well trained actors,
Mm.
it can ruin the whole entire film. But this, everyone was pretty decent at their roles, and it made it very believable. And then you had characters like Jonathan Tucker did very well, Jessica Biel, pretty famous actress, and then definitely like Sheriff Hoyt, right? Arlie Emery or whatever how you pronounce his name, but he like stole the show in a lot of like if it was a play, man, everyone would be like doing stand ovations for him because his character just makes it so believable, and he's so ruthless and psychotic. It's like wild, man. Like I give him so much props for creating that character and doing it the way that he wanted to do it. And he said that, and he would like, and everyone was like kind of praising him for being able to, that they were like scared even during filming some of like just his antics.
I don't think I can find a character in this movie that's not like well thought out. I know there's not like a shit ton of characters or anything, but like all the characters you just mentioned, like all the main cast are all like really good.
Yeah,
I like the way Leatherface looks. I like the fact that he's
me
so
too.
huge, but he's also quite fast,
Mhm.
which kind of gives just a little bit of a different take. I think those two chicks, remember they come across in the trailer thing with the baby?
I hate that fat chick, man.
But like I feel like they fit in that world though, because I'm like, I kind of feel like if I was caught in a situation like that, I would probably come across some weird bitch like that, and I'm like,
That was
what's going
scary
on?"
though. And
Yeah.
and so they were talking about on the doc that I watched that they were going to use them separately, but they chose to put them in the same scene. And then there's all these like the kids going missing, I don't know what Ireland is, but 45,000 children go missing in Canada alone. In the States, it's way more every year. So everyone clarify, think of that, how crazy that is. And they said that there's a lot of kids going missing. So they use that idea of like, that's not your baby. When Jessica Biel sees it and kind of like clues in, that's not your kid. She's mine. Like, that's scary, and that just like that oaf of a woman, and when she's like sitting, when she's like, she's so fat, man, and when she's like leaned over her from that shot of her being on the ground, they're both
Mhm.
looking down at her. Scary. Come on, like it's so good.
Yeah, it really is. What would you call that? Trailer scene or
Yeah.
something like.
Yeah, trailer scene. I was gonna say if we're gonna like just gonna kind of go off, I would like to talk about the beginning. It's so good with the traumatized chick. She does such a good job. It's disturbing, and I remember that starting off the film when I was a kid, right? And I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be crazy," because she's like, Don't take me back there." She's like, she does a very good job at playing that kind of very traumatized person that's been through all sorts of horrendous things and watched obviously all her friends die. And then when that scene when she puts the gun in her mouth. And then she like cocks it off and shoots her, like it's crazy. The smoke that comes out of her head, and then the shot that they carry through the skull is like a really wild and well done scene of like especially in a horror movie, to have that camera angle and then have them all look at her while her head falls back is crazy, dude.
Yeah, like the fact that it like moves back out through her head is just white. Like that's a really inventive shot, I think, and like quite like kind of a big undertaking, really, when you think about it, for like a
It
guy
was
who's
hard for them
only.
too.
Yeah, like and for a guy who's only directed music videos up until that point. I'm not taking anything away from him because I think he done amazing. But like, he could have taken maybe the easy way out and just made a really, really generic, like,
The kid in the
horror
hitchhiker,
film,
they changed it. He said that they
and
didn't
just
want to
kind
do
of,
it.
yeah, and just kinda like I don't know how it worked, but like, you always hear them stories of like the studios just steamrolling the new director. They're like,
Yeah.
we literally just brought you here just to have a name as the
Yep.
director, but we're just gonna make you make the movie we want. And it doesn't really seem like that happened with this, which I think is a good thing.
So do I. And he like there's a lot of shots that were done that were creative and horrific at the same time. Like when she does
Like
like
when she does like
them freaking out when her head falls back, like because the realization, and then as the camera gets pulled through her skull, and then everyone is screaming, freaking out, and you can see the reaction while it's happening. I think is spot on. Like it's great.
like there's so many scenes from this movie that I love. Um
Yeah.
but yeah, if you haven't already figured out, like this movie serves as a remake for the original, reimagining the story for a new generation. It leads into a prequel slash sequel, which we'll talk about very soon. Um, so apparently, right behind the scenes, this was the thing that was when the studios saw like how well received this was by audiences and like money wise.
Mhm.
This is what launched that wave of remakes where we got Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. That's why we were getting those things, is supposedly off the back of the success of
Mm.
this, which
Even
is
though
crazy.
they did not make them successful. 2009 Friday the 13th isn't bad by
And
any
I
means.
think,
They
yeah,
chose good actors.
and I think that says a lot about Marcus Nispel as a director
Yeah, I
for,
agree.
like, his first 2 movies to be remakes of, like, iconic horror franchises and to make both of them quite good. Obviously, this one is better, I think, than Friday the 13th, but I actually really like going back every now and again and rewatching that 2009 movie.
I know. I want to cover at some point. I've we have the idea that I told you to do a
Mhm.
versus. It'll be a fun time. There is a lot of good scenes in this movie that I do really love. The come on, boy, bring it, bring it,
Yeah.
like that shit's, and to introduce Leatherface in that way is kind of cool. Actually, it's something different.
He's such a good character as well, that little Monty dude or whatever he's
Yeah.
called.
So, yeah, so weird. Like, and it's creepy, right? You're like, what are you doing? What the hell are you doing in my house? Like, all those things that remind me of the first time when I saw the trailer, and I was like, I have to see this.
Yeah,
I do think he is one of the better Leather faces, to be honest. The look, the size, um,
I
the
love
action. Hmm?
that mask. I love that mask.
Yeah, it's freaky. It looks like Yeah, it looks like he made it out of human flesh, right? It looks pretty like gnarly. It is a good mask. And they're like training him to like make sure that he was doing it on point. And he said that like the chainsaw was like an extension of him. So and he kept like the director kept kind of trying to push him towards that. So he really tried to utilize it and like that he knows how to use this thing, right? So it's kind of cool to hear even that weirdo Andrew Barniski talk about it.
Yeah, because it's definitely I think anyway personally it's a different take on like the character. If you look at the original Leatherface, like this guy would completely shadow over him in size.
Oh, and he'd beat if there was a battle between OG Leatherface and this guy. Sorry, but the the mentally handicapped retard one that's like banging his head in the original would get slaughtered by this guy.
This dude, probably out of all of them, he would probably smash every other Leatherface, I would imagine.
Yeah, for sure, especially for next generation.
Okay, so we have some some trivia here. So, a then unknown John Larroquette provided the narration for the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Despite becoming a distinguished actor in the years since, he happily agreed to reprise his role for the remake. So that's actually the same guy from the original that does the voiceovers.
That's pretty cool, actually. That guy that they paid a joint.
Yeah, yeah.
That's so
Which is
funny.
kinda cool, like, that they got him back, and I had, Daniel Pearl, who was the cinematographer for the original and for
Yeah,
this one. I had him on the show a couple of years ago, and, he you could tell, like, he kind of done it for the same reasons as well. He,
yeah.
he was like, I really wanna do this," and they kind of asked him, they were like, "But you done the original, why would you wanna remake why would you want to do cinematography of a remake of your own movie? He was like, "Because I wanna do it now in, like, the modern times and try and
Mhm.
do it differently." That's exciting to me to, like, make it again, but different.
That's interesting. I was gonna
Mm.
bring up the next point too, is like this is one of the only times really you get to see Leatherface's real face, and they like chose to do this of him taking off the mask, and then you can kind of see that he's like deformed, and he has there like there is a disease that is kind of what he has, where it like makes you look like a skeleton, like his nose
Yeah,
is
he's, like,
missing.
missing his nose, yeah, freaky.
Michael Jackson, man,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
ignorant.
Yeah. I know what it reminds me of. Daniel Pearl, who I just spoke about, who was the cinematographer of the original Texas Chainsaw, reprised his position for this movie. He got there by convincing Marcus Nispel, his frequent collaborator on many music videos, to direct it. Nispel was offered the movie but wanted to make his American debut, an original movie, telling Pearl that remaking Texas Chainsaw Massacre was blasphemy and a sure failure. Pearl then told Nispel that the reason he should accept the offer and hire was to hire him as a cinematographer so that Pearl could make the same movie twice, once at the beginning of my career and once at the end of my career. Which is kind of, I suppose that's an interesting way
Yeah,
of
that's
looking at it. A lot of
interesting.
people wouldn't do that.
That's funny. Dolph Lundgren was gonna consider to play Leatherface, but he turned them down so he could spend more time with his family. Well, it's a good reason, but that would be pretty wild, actually.
How
He'd
weird
actually
would that be?
so weird. I wonder if he would do it. Good done a good job, man. Go back to the last image that we had on before the trivia. That man, something about the just a little the stomach showing, and man, I was boy. That's all I
I
needed.
thought I thought what you were gonna say was that scene where he wears Kemper's face
Yeah, that
is
is also
haunting.
it is when he turns
Oh
and
my
Jessica Biel's, like, in the car or whatever,
Mhm.
that is one of the more freakiest scenes, I think, throughout all of Texas Chainsaw Massacre history of, like, all of the films.
Whatever way they made that mask,
They made it
it just
realistic.
yeah, like, that shit looked so freaky when he turns.
Yeah, I just couldn't help point that out that, man, it's
Well, I
different
suppose that's
times.
probably more important than
The
what I
face.
was saying, to be honest with you.
Yeah, yeah, just talk about when I was a little boy and what movies made me drive me wild.
Um, many people said that, Marcus Nispel's, background as a music video director, he I suppose he was known for, like, stylish visuals, so a lot of people reckon that's what made this so work so well. It kind of influenced the film's, like, modern looking aesthetic.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, this basically, I suppose, rejuvenated the franchise. It made it like a viable horror series again for a new generation, influenced the tone of subsequent horror remakes and reboots. Character of Leatherface remained uh, a horror icon and it kind of brought him, I suppose, into the new age. Um, the script went through several rewrites, with the final version focusing on intensifying the horror and brutality while updating the story for modern audiences. Here's something funny, actually. You mentioned about Sheriff Hoyt and stuff. Orly Army, who played him,
Ermy?
uh,
Arlie Ermy?
and obviously everybody probably best knows him for. He's a guy you'll look at and you'll go, I feel like I've seen him before, but I don't know where
Yeah,
or what or how or why. Most people will probably
I was
know
just
him
looking at it.
from he was in Full Metal Jacket,
Yeah. Who said that?
and,
There's a funny meme, from that where it's just like, "I don't wanna die for Israel," and he's like, "Who said that?" So funny.
like, he's such a good actor, I think, and, like, there's so many different roles he's been in, and he's
He's
kinda
in
one of those
7?
character
Interesting.
actors that, like, he never, I don't think, got, like, super famous, but he's, like, one of those actors that, like, lots and lots of people recognize.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think it's
Um,
that scene, though, like,
yeah,
"Gomer Pyle," like, I just watched that not long ago, actually, and I feel like that's what really I feel like that's what really made him famous, and I think he joked about that character, like, wanting to make it more like that character, but, like, psychotic, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, I didn't, I didn't actually notice, but most of his lines as the sheriff were all improvised.
Yeah, I heard him talk about that, which is crazy.
They gave him, I think like they had lines for him, but then when they saw him do some of them, they were like, you know what, actually, if you could just like wing it and just kind of, this is the kind of gist of what we want to do, but like if you could just like make up your own shit, that'd probably be even better.
It
Uh,
shows, definitely shows his ability to do improv. It's like that's pretty good. And he was it's so funny though. Like if you think about it, everybody, think of Toy Story. Now think of the little army men. It's like, you know what I mean? That's
yeah.
where that voice is so familiar too.
Um,
Man of
also,
the house.
I don't know like if these reports are true or not, but supposedly this movie made around the same amount again when it came out on home video,
Oh, I'm sure. I was
which
all
is like
for it.
pretty serious fucking money when you think about it. Like it made, this is 2003 and it made
Mhm.
over 100 million at the box office, and then went to home video and made over 100 million again. So like I can see why like the studios and stuff were sitting back probably in the boardroom laughing, going, "This is the best, so good. Let's remake every movie ever."
I know, of course. And then they didn't do. Yeah, it
And
wasn't.
then they ruined most of them.
It's true. So
Just
true.
let Marcus and Spell remake everything. That works for me.
I got lost looking at pictures of Jessica Biel.
Yeah, I kind of guessed there was something there because you had these like really goofy looking eyes. I was like,
He's looking at something.
something going on there.
What?
So, any final thoughts on this movie then? How many chainsaws out of 5 would you give this one? I'm gonna go straight away and say 5 out of 5 chainsaws. I think this is the first time I've ever rated anything 100%.
One last thing, the soundtrack was on point. Creepy, the eerie
There's one piece of
environment.
music, and I wish I could play it right now. It's like the main,
Dun,
yeah,
dun,
it's the
dun.
main like, mm,
It's
and
so
it's like,
good. Like you want atmospheric. The atmospheric tone of this whole movie is really good. There's so many scenes that are very iconic. And yeah, I would say 5 out of 5. It is great. Like I just picture Leatherface like throwing his chainsaw up in the air and like celebrating and then catching it. You know, he's so excited.
random.
Yeah, it just picture it just popped in my head. You know, if you're excited, if Leatherface is excited, what would he do? You
Yeah, I
know,
suppose you probably will do that.
or he just he'd run around a circle like he does at the end of the original. But he's more upset at that point, right? That's just him having a temper tantrum. So
Um, so obviously following on from the success of this movie, what was it, 3 years later, we get the Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning,
it's
which
the
released on
beginning.
October 6th, 2006. It was directed by Jonathan, is it, Liebesman? Don't know
Sure,
who he is, where they got him from. Produced by Michael Bay once again.
Michael
Um,
Gay.
haha, I'm
Just
sure he's
kidding.
never heard that before.
I actually don't mind his movies. Didn't he do Avatar? Good for
He's
him.
done a lot of stuff I like, so I don't I
The
fuck everyone.
Titanic Man, great
Yeah.
movie. My first boob I ever saw. Like, well,
Um,
more or less.
Produced again by Platinum Dunes, distributed by New Line Cinema. A runtime of 91 minutes for the theatrical version and 96 minutes for the unrated version.
I love an hour and a half movie, man.
Same.
Let's keep it there.
1 hour and a half, just in and out, and just don't have to really
I
like
hate
think.
movies that try to push it, especially if it's not necessary, man. Where I'm like,
Um,
it adds to the story, maybe, but
so I found this a little bit unusual, right? That So what do we say the budget was for the first one? 9.5 million estimated, right?
okay, yeah.
Now, can you guess what the budget was for the second one, the beginning, without looking it up?
Uh, 10.9 million.
16 million.
16?
Yeah.
What the hell did they spend the money, the
I
budget
know,
on?
right? Because I was there going, it felt like a smaller movie. If I put the two of them side by side, I'm like, I feel like there's less in the beginning that would require that amount of money.
Yeah,
So how did you
weird.
manage to double the budget nearly?
That
Um,
is weird.
This one made 51.8 million worldwide. So they spent double the budget and made less than half the amount of money.
Wow, good for them.
Uh, which is kind of shit.
It is.
Again, some of the characters in this, I actually don't mind them that much.
I wrote down, and I hate the beginning, that fat bitch peeing herself. I do not like.
Yeah, that's weird.
I found the beginning long. Like, and I remember when I first watched this and just that uncomfortability, and that's probably what they wanted, right? Of her, like, I guess, birthing Leatherface in the slaughterhouse. And it's just like she's this huge woman, and then she's just like peeing everywhere. And I don't know if I liked that.
I will say though, it is quite gross in
Yeah.
the sense of like, I suppose in my head I was like, okay, this is kind of believable to me that like this is how he would be born
In a slaughterhouse.
because it's
Like,
quite
this is what
grim,
you're
like
made
he's
for.
manky and disgusting, like he just fucking out on the ground.
Mm.
Yeah, like I don't mind a lot of the characters. Again, I feel like they were all
Yeah,
quite well cast. Um, there is points where like the relationship between the two brothers kind of annoys me a bit. I'm like, it's feeling like a bit I was getting like angsty teenager vibes.
I agree with that.
I was like, we're being a bit too like MTV-ish at times. Please stop doing that.
Yeah, I
They were
agree.
like, tell your brother you're not going back. And he's like, yeah, I'll tell my brother, but I can't tell him right now.
Yeah,
And like
it's
all that stuff, I'm just like, ugh.
no, I know those. Realistically, those two, they could die. I was like, all right, just get rid of them.
And look, I do have to commend. I feel like I get what they were going for was
Yeah, yeah.
the
Speaking
idea
of,
of I suppose putting two army boys as like the good guys, so we'd get to see like, well, what would happen if like two trained guys went up against
but
Leatherface or
one
what?
wasn't trained.
Would they be able to like do something? You know, they're like an army
Yeah.
family or whatever. They come from like an army background. So I
Yeah.
kind of get, I suppose, where they were coming from. But
Yeah, but the draft dodger, and like they're like he was a draft dodger, which like realistically, that's what I would have done. I don't like the army. I don't like the military industrial complex. So, and that was like a proud thing. You're not fighting for your country at that
yeah,
point. You're
but that's
fighting for
you're
special
sold.
interests.
Yeah, you're sold that like to like be like, yeah, man,
Yeah,
America, yeah,
I have a
bro.
song called World War Everybody. I talk about like people essentially dying for patriotism for certain people, and oligarchs and lobbyists and politicians, and it's kind of crazy, man. But like the storyline I did like about that is when the sheriff finds out and like sees the burnt draft card and like gets like pissed because I think he fought in the Korean War or something like that.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
just like and he, like that whole scene in the car is pretty intense. And there is like I did like this one. It could have went really bad, but for being a second movie to the first one, I actually thought it was decently well
Yeah,
done.
yeah, it wasn't bad.
There's some pretty crazy gore, like the beginning where like they tell Leatherface to pack it up, like slaughterhouse is closed. Thomas, you gotta go. Whatever his name's Thomas Hugh, I think in this one, right? And it's
Yeah,
just like you gotta go, man. And then he like breaks that guy's legs, and some of the leg hits are like brutal. And then he's trapped under the desk or whatever, and he's just like hitting his leg. Oh, I
that's what
couldn't even imagine the pain, man.
that's what I liked about this version of Leatherface as well. He's so fucking like he goes
Brutal.
from like obviously like I know he's huge and whatever, but he seems at times like and I don't feel like he seems retarded. He seems just
No.
quite like kind of placid and just like he's just kind of like wandering around and then he just like that he's able to just snap and like just break bones and like crush people.
He's like a wild animal. I think that's where they
Yeah.
kind of really wanted to do with this is make him like a he's a wild animal that has this like instinct that gets turned on. And some of those scenes when he's walking back from like the music is still pretty good. And then he's walking down the road and it's like that and he's like holding the chainsaw and it just kind of sets in and it's like got the hot Texas sun and you can see like the waves of heat and then the cop shows up or whatever. And that's when Hoyt becomes the sheriff
And
is
I
a
love that as well. I
crazy
love
good
that
scene.
backstory. Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like that's really good. Like where you're kind of like, This all makes sense.
I just killed the whole sheriff department or whatever he says. That's like crazy.
Yeah, and it's kind of wild to think like because it felt quite believable. I was like, do you know what? Actually, like in this
Nobody
world
checked.
you've created, like I feel like this is quite a like feasible thing that could probably happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Um, it was filmed again in and around Austin, Texas. Completed over several weeks in late 2005 and early 2006. It maintains a dark, gritty, and violent tone consistent with the 2003 remake, focusing
Mhm.
on intense and visceral horror while exploring the origins of Leatherface and the Hewitt family. It received generally negative reviews from critics who criticized its excessive violence and lack of character development. However, it was praised by some for its commitment to the brutal and relentless tone set by the 2003 remake.
It's a
Despite,
horror movie. I
I
hate
know, yeah, that's I
Robert
find that
Eager or
weird, like
whatever.
when people say that. Despite its critical reception, the film was a moderate box office success, earning over 3 times its production budget. But again, like I said before, it didn't come anywhere close to.
Yeah.
Did this?
I can see
When did
that.
this come
Like at
out in
least
theaters?
what?
Did this come out in theaters?
Yeah, I thought so. I definitely watched it on DVD. Like I don't know if I got to see this. Um
Um,
it has that chick from Fast and the Furious. Like there's some decent actors in the movie, so I feel like that helps because if they didn't have people that had some chops, like the face is pretty freaky that they chose. There's some really good parts of this movie as a horror movie overall. And the thing is, like, the critics don't know anything. They're paid, I think, to peddle garbage and to like no horror movie or comedy movie has really won an Oscar, really. And so they want to peddle that like boring, like piano games or whatever one movie's called. It's like just sappy, like it's not my thing. But there's some like crazy scenes in this movie. I do like his face though. It is, especially with this the eyes showing. It's kind of freaky, actually. Do
yeah, yeah, I think it works.
you remember
From
that
what
scene where the guy's talking about fingering the horse? I just wrote that down. He's like, "Hell, I'd do it." It's just like they see
like,
those people and they fucking, and it's just it was showing kind of like the inbred kind of backwoods type of people. But I did write that down because I was like, "What the fuck that guy just say?"
um, yeah, there's a lot of like weird shit like that, like gently just put into it. We
Let's
have
bring it
another
up.
Tom's tagline
All right,
segment.
here we go. Witness the birth of fear. Yes, witnessing. Every legend has a beginning. Yes, it does. The only thing more shocking than how it ended is how it all began. Yes, indeed.
You know what? I don't hate any of them really. I feel like they're all like
They're
okay.
okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's not,
they're actually
it's,
not bad.
they're not terrible. I don't know. I remember watching this movie. I remember when it came out. I remember enjoying it. Like there is good things about it. Yeah, I did write down they definitely make Leatherface like an animal, which is interesting
Mm.
because I was like thinking because as watching, obviously I got that impression. I said the fat old lady creeps me out more than Leatherface.
Oh yeah, because she shows up again. I think isn't she like named in it? I think I seen in the credits she's named as like
Tea lady.
fat tea lady or something, or
Yeah,
tea
yeah,
lady Hewitt or something weird like that.
yeah. Fat
Um,
tea lady.
which is kind of weird. Here's some strange and weird trivia. This was the first movie to ever receive Iceland's 18s rating.
What does that mean then? What else are they? What?
I don't know. I don't know. Um, Producers Andrew Form and Brad Fuller decided not to make a sequel to the 2003 movie, but fans kept coming to them asking how the family got that way and wanting to know several unanswered questions in the 2003 version. Some of them include how Monty lost both of his legs, to how Sheriff Hoy lost his front teeth, and how Leatherface got his nickname. And after a meeting with Michael Bay, they let Sheldon Turner write the script for a prequel, and they were prepared then to make it. The cow that gets hit by the Jeep was made of fiberglass and filled with blood, fake entrails and fake bones, then screwed together.
You know how fun that would be to drive through that thing as the stunt guy, though?
Yeah.
This
That
is
would be
so
pretty
cool.
badass.
And look at his face. Some of that, yeah, it's so funny. Giving the devil horns. You
How do
obviously
you
had
feel
fun playing
about
with his face.
that? How do you feel about that? Like half fake face mask, that COVID mask looking thing.
I don't know. I think it's okay for considering we kind of know what his face looks like, and it's before he started developing his own face to obviously because he was ashamed of what he looked like. You know, because the whole backstory, he hurt people, like we always say, and he's just a hurt person, man. You know, he's got no face, literally. So he's using that to kind of hide his disgusting disfigurement, his deformities. You know, so it kind of makes sense. You know, there is some pretty brutal violence in this, which I do really enjoy that. The bear trap where the one guy gets his leg caught is messed up, really irks you, right? That's what I'm looking for. In some of these movies, those scenes like that are what I'm looking for. You know, what I want from it is like where you're like, oh yeah, you can't
Yeah.
really look at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Like cutting off Monty's legs. Well, oh, you messed up the other one. We gotta cut both of them off now.
Isn't
crazy.
or no, it's not in this one, is it? How does there's the two brothers in this, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to like remember now because it's been a couple of weeks since I watched these again, and
Yeah.
I'm like, all the movies are getting like mixed into one for me. How do those two brothers die? Spoiler alert for everybody, it's a deep dive, so fuck off.
I don't know.
I'm trying to remember now. I'm like,
The one guy gets like strung up.
because I
But
want to aren't the two of them tied up in that weird like
yeah.
outdoor barn thing?
How do I not know how they died? Yeah, they're tied up in the barn. And then I actually can't remember. And then because he gets caught in the bear trap. And they come
Because
after
the
him.
leg getting chopped off is the dude from the remake, right? The blonde guy gets half his leg cut off.
Yeah, I think so. I'm gonna put up deaths. I don't know. Because sometimes there's those sites that actually we should actually bring some of that stuff up. List of deaths. Okay, here we go. Oh, I want the beginning, you motherfuckers. Yeah, this is going through the most intense deaths. I want to know the beginning, you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think because like I feel like some of the kills all like mixed together for me, and I'm like,
I agree. That's on my. That's gonna bug me now. Now that you say that, I'm gonna be so. It's gonna bug me. Number 2.
sorry everybody, we don't know how anyone died in this movie, even though we watched it.
I know.
Strange.
Wait, I'm gonna find it. Texas Chainsaw Massacre beginning. Sophie died after giving birth to Thomas, who raised the Hewitt family, named him Leatherface. Fun times. Plant owner beaten to death by Leatherface with a sledgehammer. Sheriff Hoyt shot in the face by Charlie with his own gun, who stole his identity. Alex shot by Charlie. Holden sliced in half by Leatherface with a chainsaw while Charlie, Sheriff Hoyt, was holding him down. So that's, I think, that's the other one guy, right? Holden. Do you have the
Must be, yeah. Chainsaw through torso from below. Eric chainsaw through torso.
Yeah.
Bailey throat slit. Dean.
Eric impaled by Leatherface with a chainsaw while on a table and injured from his arm filleted with a knife. The skin on his face was cut off by Leatherface for the first human mask. Yeah. Oh, Dean Hill. Yeah. So and Dean was impaled by Leatherface with a chainsaw. So they're impaled. Another one, like Chrissy, his like lover, impaled by Leatherface with a chainsaw while driving. Yeah, a lot of deaths in this one.
Yeah, but I enjoy this movie a lot.
So do I. It's pretty brutal. Some of the scenes are brutal. They won't remember what we did, but don't remember what we done, or whatever he says in the dinner table or whatever. It's like very iconic.
There was the thing I didn't cop. I don't know if you've said this already or not, but Jordana Brewster, the chick in it with the brown hair.
Isn't she's from That really huge that franchise that never
Fast and
seems to
Furious.
stop. Yeah, I stopped after 5. I don't even care.
Yeah, playing the role of Chrissy. Um,
Yes.
so she would have been already quite famous then at this point, which is kind of crazy. Obviously, Orly Army returned as Sheriff Hoyt, and Andrew Bernarski returned as Leatherface. The unrated version of the film released on home video includes additional scenes of graphic violence and gore, restoring content cut for a theatrical release that was used to achieve an R rating. The film's opening sequence depicting the birth of Leatherface was intended to evoke sympathy for the character while setting the stage for his brutal future. I
They
don't know if
always
that
try
made
to
me
do that.
feel sympathetic though. I was
No.
more just grossed out and like, this is fucking horrible.
I was reading some of the quotes, and it's funny when he's like, "I like your new face," when Leatherface puts his face on, but the quote that I was trying to remember was, "People may not remember what we say here tonight, but by God, they'll remember what we did." And like that whole scene is pretty
Mm.
freaky, and him just kind of taking charge, and the Monty and the mom or whatever, the I think it's like whoever, I don't know who she's like, what's his name's wife, I think, or something, and like their face is showing that they're shocked. But then this is when he's like, we're not gonna go hungry. So they imply that they're eating the sheriff, I think, or whatever, and
Mhm.
they're like kind of looking at it, but then they kind of go along with it. Is just that's a freaky scene. Weird.
Um, the director, Jonathan Liebesman,
Liebesman.
said that he aimed to create a film that was both a character study of Leatherface and an exploration of the corrupting influence of the Hewitt family and what it had on him. He emphasized the brutality and bleakness of the story. The unrated cut of the film includes several extended scenes that provide more context for the characters, motivations, and relationships, particularly within the Hewitt family itself. The film was marketed as The Origin of Evil, emphasizing its role in explaining the backstory of Leatherface and his family. While initially panned, some horror fans have revisited the film in recent years and it has since gained a cult following, appreciating its commitment to intense horror and its role in expanding the Texas Chainsaw Massacre mythology. Which I feel like, yeah, it
Yeah.
probably got shit on a bit when it first came out, but I think since then it's definitely gotten more love.
Yeah, I do enjoy it, and I think it's it's what it needed to be for like the for what I don't know, for the beginning. Like I think it's not a bad movie by any means. I feel like it's pretty decent. Like I do enjoy it. Um, I'll give it 3.5 chainsaws out of
Yeah, I
5.
think that's probably fair. I think
Yeah.
that's fair. Like it loses a few points for a couple of little things for me, but I think it's overall it's quite a good movie, to be fair.
Yeah, it's good. There's some messed up scenes. Like I remember watching as a kid and I really liked it. So I do think definitely one of the better ones because they've done a bunch of different movies. Like I would way rather watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre the beginning, and people might like be like, "Oh," than Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Yeah.
As much as I like Chop Top's character, rewatching that movie, I was like, it's kind of annoying. A lot of
Yeah, yeah,
screaming.
yeah,
You know,
it was when we talked about it in part 1, if people haven't heard that yet, go back and listen to that first, but, when you pointed that out, I was like, "That's what really annoys me about that movie." I was like, "It's all the fucking screaming."
I know it's so much yelling and stuff. And yes,
Um,
you want to enter into 3D.
yeah, with this dude, this
Oh yeah.
weird ass mask.
I've I'm going to say I am not a fan of his mask in this one.
So I wasn't, but then I was like, you know, I kind of like this movie, so I was like, I
I
kind of
know.
want the mask then for some reason.
I know it's
So,
not
yeah.
terrible. It could be worse, but
Yeah,
it's
but it's also I do agree it's not great either. Um, so yeah, we're talking about Texas Chainsaw 3D, which was released on January 4th, which is kind of strange, 2013. Directed by John Leusenhop. I don't know if
sure.
that's correct or not. Um, Screenwriters was Adam Marcus, Kirsten Elms, and Deborah Sullivan. Let's see. Production company Millennium Films, Mainline Pictures, and New Image. Distributed by Lionsgate. Runtime of 92 minutes for theatrical version and 96 minutes for the unrated version. Estimated budget $20 million. Box office gross approximately 47.2 million worldwide. So, I mean, it doubled its money, but not overly great. Filmed in Shreveport, Louisiana, during the summer of 2011. The film combines traditional slasher horror elements with modern 3D effects, aiming to deliver both scares and a visceral experience. It also revisits the gritty atmosphere of the original series while trying to introduce new storylines. So,
I like this one, but it's a weird one.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that I wouldn't have done.
Yeah. You have some famous names in it, somewhat. What I don't know who Trey Songz is, but I didn't realize that is who.
Yeah, terrible.
Because I've only heard that name through terrible like hip hop. Didn't realize that he was that shitty rapper that played that guy. I never listen to his stuff.
Terrible.
Tanya Ramondi or whatever. She's pretty famous. I was like, what is she from? It driving me nuts. And
she's pretty good looking as well.
Yeah. She plays the hooer in this movie. I'm trying. Where the hell? I figured out what she was from. She's from Waiting, which is a very funny film. If people haven't seen it, if you understand the restaurant industry, that will open your eyes to what kind of goes on. But she was on Malcolm in the Middle. I was like, because I was like, she's off of some like YTV or like kids kind of show. And then I realized, I was like, oh, that's who she's from. And then we got one of my buddy. He's been on my podcast only once or twice. His crush is Alexander Daddario or whatever her name is. That's his like
Daddario. I actually listened to that a million times. He's like, what is that name?
Daddario. Yeah, I have a buddy that's his like celebrity crush because she's like he said like the girl next door type of look.
But she has a set of knockers on her.
Oh yeah.
Christ
For
almighty.
sure. Yeah. She's been pretty open on movies with showing her body off.
Yep. I think she actually offered to do boobies in this one.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
I can't pay her enough.
The director was like, yeah, no, we'll do it. But, the scene where she has like the shirt open.
Yeah.
And you can see them, but the nips are still covered. He was like, yeah, we'll just stick with that. And she was like, no, I can like take them out. It's all good. And he was like, no, we're good.
Wow. Interesting. Maybe they didn't want to pay her more. You've seen True Detective, right?
Let me have a look.
You've seen True Detective, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
like as weird as it is, this movie's so kind of goofy. I like it though.
I know, right? But there's okay, so I do actually like this movie and I revisit it like more often than some of the other ones. But
it's been a while for me when I first watched it.
There's a lot of strange choices. Like the storyline for me is a big reach. The thing of being like, your grandmother's thing, and you inherited a thing, and you're a Sawyer or a Hewitt or whatever you are, and it just seems all very
it's discombobulated, if I could say that, where it's like it just doesn't really make sense, and it's like, and then you have the whole thing where she like accepts it, and then it's just like you just but realistically, right? Trauma-based mind control. They put her through all this trauma, and then she was like, you know what? I'm kind of down with having a retarded cousin that murders people. Maybe he'll protect you, as the mom says in the letter. But there's some things I like about it, and then there's some things that I don't, where I'm like, I kind of like that she writes her the letter at the end and kind of explains the whole situation that she didn't read. So if she would have read it at the beginning, things might have been differently and your friends may have survived, because you could have been like, I'm your cousin. And it's weird, right? She doesn't have an accent through the whole film. And then near the end, with your favorite part, when she's like, "Do your thing," cuz it's just like she didn't have the accent. You were from like the suburbs, living in an apartment or wherever she was from, and then all of a sudden now you're like an inbred hick. All of a sudden,
Yeah, I just find that like really cringy.
it's the
I
worst
did
part of the
like
whole film.
yeah, like if they could just cut that piece out, I would be much happier.
Do
I
your thing,
also
is
also when I do have another gripe with that ending, that scene.
the
Uh
chainsaw battle thing.
yeah, I kind of don't like the way that weird like mayor hick dude like battles him with like the two doesn't he have like a tire iron or something at one stage
Yeah,
and he's like battling him with that and all. I'm like, motherfucker, if that was like if this was real, Leatherface would just smash you to pieces and just saw you in half. Like, I mean, I don't
I,
know.
especially if it's supposed to be the Leatherface from the 2003
Yeah.
movie, like which it's supposed to be technically. I feel like it is 3D, so they're trying to be like the third one.
No, no,
Uh,
it's not. So I was looking this up trying to figure out
what?
what the story is. Yeah, so this is a direct sequel to the original. It ignores all the continuity of any other
Wow.
sequels or reboots, and we're supposed to be picking up immediately after the events of the first film. Um, so you know the
How
way
does
you
that
have
make
that old,
sense though?
you know when we had that opening scene where that's supposed to be the ending, a new ending for the 1974 film.
What scene?
The scene at the start of this movie where you have Gunnar Hansen is there, the original Leatherface. He plays like Bubba Sawyer or something like that. You have Bill Moseley shows up. Remember, there's a shootout at the start.
Oh yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
supposed to be set in 1974.
Oh, I forgot. That makes
Remember,
sense
and
then.
Leatherface is standing there looking all goofy in the Pretty Woman mask, and they're like,
Yeah.
he's like telling them to go out the back or something. He goes out like some fucking door while they're all getting shot.
So weird. I
Remember
do.
remember the
Yeah,
black
it makes
sheriff
sense.
there? The black
Yeah.
sheriff is there, and he's going crazy because all the
Yeah.
town people show up and they start throwing petrol bombs and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, like, the story we're supposed to be following is, like, all them years later now, Leatherface is, like, back, and he's gonna, like, kill all those people. 'Cause
Yeah, now I remember. I'm literally gonna watch it right now.
that big fucking hillbilly dude that was leading the pack of people in the opening scene ends up becoming the mayor of the town.
Weird. Oh yeah, I'm literally watching the scene right now. Oh yeah, because it does show you her freaking out at the in the back of the truck or whatever. And
Mhm.
then it shows the cop sirens coming in. It is clever. Like I
I
kind
like
of
that.
like that.
Well done.
And like the kind of like yeah, the hit guy. They all have shotguns and stuff like that. And it I guess it just shows the destruction of the family and how they all get obviously murdered after the events that took place. And maybe it's like his cousins and the people that you didn't get to see in the original. Hey, I do kind of like that. They could have just taken it from the two first movies, like
Yeah.
the remakes or whatever. I feel like that would have made a little more sense.
Yep.
The grandpa gets like just blasted in the
That's
fire.
that's, I think that's Gunnar Hansen. He played the original.
It's so fun. Oh, that's so funny. Man, it's weird because I was watching this. I realized it when I was watching it, but now then I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, does that even make sense? But I guess it doesn't. It's funny that Bill Moseley is there, and he's
Yeah.
supposed to be the dad, and it's just like it's kind of
There's something actually I seen that got
confusing.
quite a bit. The film's timeline sparked debate amongst fans, as the main
Yeah.
character Heather is supposed to be in her very early 20s, yet the story is set decades after the original 1974 film. This discrepancy has been widely criticized by viewers and reviewers alike.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big glaring, like, I'm going, how in God's name during the script stage did nobody go, wait a second though? If we're trying to say that that's her granddaughter or whatever,
Mm.
and she's like 20, and this is set like a million years after 1974, how is she still
That doesn't
only
make
20?
yeah, that doesn't make any sense. It's crazy. They really like that stomach showing outfits
Yeah, yeah, that's
because
another
even
one where they're really going for that.
yeah, it's weird. But I guess the 70s. And like, oh man, when he's like putting on his face or whatever, and it's like he obviously hasn't killed people for a while. and the face is like made from like dry old beef jerky face. Like it's been there for a while, right? He hasn't had the time to. He's been chilling out in the basement, hanging out, eating popcorn or whatever he's doing down there. And like when he like how he puts on the mask because there's not really a strap or anything. He's like sewing it to his face is like pretty. That's it's a clever way of like he's like a sadomasochist. He enjoys the pain, but to have it where that's how the mask holds onto his face is I think kind of creepy.
Um, I didn't
I
know.
do for Patreon. I do want to do a commentary on this one day.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that. I think this is a fun one. I didn't
Yeah.
realize this is Gunnar Hansen's last film before he died.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, but I suppose it's kind of fitting. It's like what made him famous was playing Leatherface, and then he got to be in a Texas Chainsaw movie before he died. It's kind of
Yeah.
cool.
Well, how'd he die? Just like heart attack or something, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think he's just like old and not well. Um, let's see.
Yeah, what there I don't know, there's like the cheating harlot, and then did she even realize what they were doing? Did they I don't even remember them talking about that. She's like screwing her boyfriend and stuff, and I don't know. I
Yeah,
remember watching this when I first watched it, and I was like, I liked it though. Like I
yeah,
wanted to
yeah.
like kind of tear it apart, but
Although she had a rule against appearing nude in films, Alexandra Daddario offered to film the scene where she is tied up and has her shirt ripped open completely topless, but the filmmakers decided not to, thinking that it would be too ridiculous. Her character is shown to be braless, despite previous assertions she has been braless since she changed clothes in the police station.
hmm.
Blah blah blah. And
Did
then
she
she
say
done
that
her
she didn't want to?
no, that she did. But, well, yeah, she had a rule that she wouldn't do nudes, but then obviously it says here,
But
she
she's
finally
like in
appeared.
a bunch of stuff
Yeah, but it says she finally appeared fully nude for the first time the following year in an episode of True Detective.
and then kept doing it.
Yeah, pretty much, I think. Originally, this was the start of a plan for a new trilogy. The films will be released out of chronological order, with the second film coming out first and
I
being
got one
set
for you there.
almost entirely in a hospital. The next
Do I
film.
make you horny?
Sorry.
Jesus.
Okay, just to say that. I was like, I was trying to find that quick time.
Yeah, so they wanted this to be a trilogy.
They didn't even get to there. They didn't even get to a second
Yeah.
one.
The films would be released out of chronological order. The second film would come out first, and it would be set almost entirely in a hospital. The next film would be a prequel explaining the events that led up to the hospital scenario, and the third film would complete the storyline. Fearing it was too ambitious and risky, producers opted to follow up to the original instead.
Weird. Like, I I would have liked to have seen it, but don't do the same thing that's already been done. I hate that. Like, just make it in chronological order or whatever. It's because they already did this with the 2003 and then the beginning is they did the second one first or whatever, right? To do it again, it can get muddy that way. Why not just make? They should have just done that in the first place, but
Mm.
these people.
Oh,
I've contained my rage for as long as possible.
in an interview with Collider, Alexandra Daddario said she did not want to say the line "Do your thing," because she felt it was too silly. Then the
Yeah, it is.
producer told her the entire movie is supposed to be silly, so then she ended up saying it.
Wow,
What?
so they're admitting that it's
Wow.
supposed to be like this silly,
Wow.
stupid movie.
Dan
Thanks, guys.
Yeager, who played Leatherface, is actually the biggest Leatherface that there has ever been at 6'6".
He does not look like that in the film,
I
though.
know,
Weird.
right?
Hmm.
Strange.
There's
Oh,
definitely like
Trey Songz actual songs are in the background. You know, when he's playing pool
garbage.
and he's trying to be
Yeah,
all cool. Terrible.
it's garbage. Like it. Realistically, like I do really enjoy this film. But I could critique it like easily, right? And I'm usually pretty brutal when it comes to critiquing horror films, even stuff that I love. But this is kind of fun. But then I'm like, yeah, yeah, running through the circuit or whatever, sir, the fair,
Yeah.
chasing after them, and I'm like, there's some weird scenes. I like how he just has his array of chainsaws, and he's like, which one? You know, do I go with the DeWalt one or do I go with the what's the other chainsaw brand, Stealth or whatever. Like, oh,
I
that
kind of
one,
like the idea of him like at the fair, but like
yeah.
it's like not as great as I think it probably was on paper.
Well, it's like when in the second Nightmare on Elm Street when Freddy jumps out at the party. And it's like there's
Oh,
literally a bunch of people that could just kick his ass. Teamed
that's
up.
probably the worst one for me though.
Yeah, when he's like, it's too chaotic, right?
Oh God.
But like for entertainment's sake, I would have actually liked to see this in 3D. I don't know. I may have because when did this come out? 2013.
13.
Okay, yeah. I'm in 22. That's weird. Maybe
According
I
to
saw it in theaters.
co-writer,
I feel like I did. But like it is fun. You know what I mean? It's a fun film for what it
yeah,
is. It's not long or anything or dragged out.
I think you can't really expect either too much from like movies that have 3D in the title.
Yeah, I know it's true. Hey, Friday the 13th 3D was pretty awesome.
Hmm. Speaking of Friday the 13th, actually, um, according to co-writer Adam Marcus, the van attack and the carnival and slaughterhouse sequences were much more gory and elaborate in the original script before they were asked to rewrite them. Now, do you know who Adam Marcus is or why that would be of relevance?
No, I do not.
He should be someone you love because he is the writer of Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday.
Oh, the most,
He also directed that movie.
yeah, one of the worst in the entire franchise. It's so garbage, man. Even
You love
do we put that on Patreon, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's if you can hear me just be like, what the hell is going on with this movie, man? It's not good, man. Whatever. Fuck that guy. I'll say that. It's like guy's still alive. Fuck him. You're a terrible director. You shouldn't have a career. When I think about you, I picture a trash bin full of trash. Crumpled up paper, stuff that you just can easily just toss out.
Let's have Tom's taglines.
Okay.
Do-do-do-do-do-do.
Do. That's the voice. That's not
Twilight
the.
Zone.
Yeah, I actually want that sound effect, but I feel like, oh wow, there's just one. Evil wears many faces. That's it.
End of story.
End of story. So weird.
Goodbye.
That's it. That's all they could come up with.
Pretty much.
Ew. Yeah, wait.
In the opening scene, we kind of talked about this already, but Bill Moseley, who portrayed Chop Top in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, portrays Drayton Sawyer, the cook from the first two films. We mentioned Gunnar Hansen's final film. John Dugan, who portrayed Grandpa in the original, reprises his role in the opening scene of the film. That's kind of cool.
Wow, that's wild. Yeah, he gets blasted away. That's so weird. You'd be surprised. You would think that guy wouldn't be alive.
I know, right? That's why, because I was like, "What? That can't be right."
They put a lot of makeup on him, of course, but it's just like, how is that guy still living? You played a grandfather in the 70s.
We already covered that one about the trilogy pitch.
Yeah,
During the carnival scene, Leatherface runs past the attraction Carnival of Horrors, where a person runs out wearing the notorious pig mask and cloak that the character Jigsaw wore in Saw 2004. And I think the reason they were able to do that is because Lionsgate released this film, who also have the rights for Saw.
Yeah, and you can kind of do those things and kind of put, I guess you could say, a nod towards other franchises or whatever.
There's another weird thing we were talking about, like timelines and how stuff doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So Dan Yeager, who played Leatherface, was in his mid-50s during the filming. So that makes him significantly older than the character portrayed in other films. So the film's timeline also raises questions about the character's physical abilities given his advanced age. So there's just a lot of stuff there I feel like that they didn't really flesh out and think about the fact that, like, if you're setting this decades after,
Yeah,
what we're supposed to have been seeing. So like, what was it? What do we say? This came out in 2013.
Yeah, 13.
So they're saying that basically what was supposed to be happening at the time was we were looking at the opening scene of this movie is the end of the events of the original movie, right?
Yeah.
Which is set in 1974. And then we fast forward to modern day, which is 2013, which would be 39 years later. So my
Yeah,
point is, yeah, like, so
doesn't make
Leatherface then is gonna be about 80 years of age. It's a bit like it's a bit of a reach,
Oh,
and
yeah, that's crazy.
like,
Doesn't even make sense.
has he had some weird, like, growth spurt where, like, he was, like, 5'9", and over the last 40 years, he's grown to 6'6"?
Yeah, because man, he was swinging that chainsaw around, right? Well, I do like some of the scenes, like, it is over exaggerated for sure. But when they're in the van, they're trying to bust out the gate, and you just see him in the blurred out version of the
Yeah,
camera, like slowly like hobbling towards them. I was like, pretty good, pretty good. But like, yeah, he would be like in his 80s, would he not?
I don't know, like, what age was he supposed to be in the original? 20s, 30s? So
Yeah.
is it he's, like, even let's say he was in his mid-20s in the original.
Mhm.
Let's just,
Yeah,
like, make
maybe.
him
Yeah, late
let's make him
20s.
quite young, right? He's still
Yeah.
gonna be, like, minimum 65.
Mhm.
So it's a bit of a stretch, like, now, look, I know obviously you have to kind of, like, suspend your belief a little bit when you're dealing with horror films, like, you can't but, like, it seems like such a glaring I'm like, "But you said it 40 years in the future, and you want me to believe that a 65-year-old man can, like,
Yeah, yeah.
still be doing all" it's just I don't know, it just seems like a bit of a reach.
I think it definitely does, and that's probably why it dampers a lot of people's opinion of this film or
Mhm.
critiquing it because it just doesn't make sense. And like one of the like if you have one or two plot holes,
Yep.
I was gonna say a pothole, plot holes, where you're falling in there, and it's okay. You can kind of brush it off, but when there's like really significant ones that really poke holes in the story, then you can start to really tear it apart. And it's a goofy film as much as I like it for what it is, but there's definitely a bunch of holes throughout this film that could have been patched up if they would have taken the time to think about it. Because it does seem like a lot of times they're just like not even they're just like, okay, let's push it out. We gotta make our money. Okay, we filmed this many scenes. They're slapping things together, and we've talked about this before, where a lot of producers do that. Do.
Doo-doo. You said doo-doo. Um,
He called shit poop. I had a lighter.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, I don't know, like, I do like this
Two more
movie.
terrible movies, and then I'll be done. Just kidding.
Um,
Oh, the one
you're
I
not
actually hate.
necessarily wrong, but yeah, this one from I don't know, I just find this one fun.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. It's a fun film, right? Like, I actually would way rather. I would way rather watch this one than the next two that we're gonna get into. So
Yeah,
realistically,
yeah.
you know what? Like, it's hard to say, but I would say I'll give this one, maybe like a 2.8 chainsaws out of like 5.
I'm gonna give it a 3.
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
was
give
gonna
it
say it's close to 3. Where I'm like, okay, my whole thing are the movies, like I've said before. Again, I'll say it again, like Hereditary and stuff that just irks your stomach and makes you feel weird, but are still good films. I would say that I would watch this one more often than some other movies that are
yeah,
rated well.
yeah, same
So it's
as.
about how often would I watch these? I made the wife bring me a joint.
How rude. Um, okay, so let's move on. As you can tell, the demeanor is kind of changing because we're getting to
I
one that
fucking
probably neither of us want to talk about.
Well, one particularly, I don't know. Are we in the Netflix one now?
No, we're in the
That was first. Okay.
2017. movie called Leatherface, released on September 21st, 2017 on DirecTV, October 20th, 2017, limited theatrical and video on demand. Um, Directed by people I don't know, produced by lots of people I don't know. Don't know the screenwriter, cinematographer,
Fuck
editor.
that guy.
Uh, Produced by Campbell Grobman Films, whatever that is. Distributed by Lionsgate. Runtime of 88 minutes theatrical and 90 minutes unrated version. Budget of 10 million. This is hilarious. This is hilarious. Budget of $10 million estimated. Box office gross worldwide 1.5 million.
Yeah, it's because it's a garbage story, man.
How garbage.
I'm not a fan of this movie at all. I will say that. I tried to watch it. When I watched it again, I was like, oh yeah, this is why I don't like this movie. I will say first off, the one note I did write down, I didn't write any notes on 3D because I was just actually enjoying watching it, but I watched it over like in pieces. I hate how his name changes throughout the franchise. It bothers me.
Yeah, really weird, right?
Why like it's so
Well,
often like Bubba, Thomas, and then this one he has a different name too. I'm pretty
and
sure.
what's the thing with the Sawyer and then Hewitt?
I know it bothers me. It's like why are we doing this? It's the explanation is so fucking. It starts off pretty fucked up and weird. I put down kind of weird asylum escape with all the bi shit. I don't know why I said that, but just like them all like wanting to fuck each other or whatever. I guess. Because they're in a mental institution. I'm not a fan of this film. I watched it excited for it, and I actually think it's it shouldn't even be in the franchise or considered a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. I know people may not like that, but I'll tell you why I'm not a fan. There's many reasons, but
It's also, I feel like I can tell. I don't know if you noticed this, but this wasn't filmed in Texas.
oh
Can you
yeah,
guess where it was filmed?
Los Angeles,
No.
Toronto, Canada.
No, that's the two places I would have guessed as well. It was filmed in Bulgaria.
What?
Yeah, because they get like
Why?
crazy tax breaks, and it's actually. So I spoke to somebody who actually was trying to get the job of directing this movie,
Yeah, yeah,
and he was going to be able to like rewrite the script and stuff. He's an English director, and it was him and the two people that ended up actually getting it.
yeah.
And he got passed over at the last minute. But he was telling me that supposedly it actually works out cheaper sometimes for companies to fly everyone to Bulgaria or somewhere like that and fly out all the equipment and everything and shoot the movie out there than it is to shoot it in the States.
So weird because it makes sense though, because there'd be certain places that would be like so much money, man.
That new one, the one we're going to talk about after this one,
Yeah.
that one was shot in Bulgaria as well.
Weird.
Yeah.
So weird.
Yep.
Like, okay, I try to give this one a chance again. But like the asylum thing, I'm not really a fan of. I think it's been done over and over again. I did write down. I think this would have been better if it wasn't a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. My
Yeah.
biggest, I wrote down. I don't know, but I'm not a big fan of this movie. My thing is though, it literally is not the same movie. Has nothing to do with the original. There is stuff that semi does, but my biggest thing is you think the whole time that's going to be the big kind of like slow kid that ends up being Leatherface, and then they change it like last minute where it's this skinny kid that is not like challenged or anything like that. Leatherface has always been and will always be a fat retard that kills people. I'm sorry if people don't like that wording, but that's what he is. He's from an inbred family. He's slow. He's just like an animal. He just knows how to kill and then essentially create food for his family. That's what he is. He has a character. He's a psychopathic mentally challenged person, and you see this throughout the entire fucking franchise, especially the first one where he's banging his head and sitting there in the fucking a room made of bones. I hate this. I hate that they made him this. And I remember when I first watched it with Chelsea, we watched it, and I was kind of excited for it. And then seeing him where it's the skinny kid and he gets shot by the sheriff, and then they make him kind of into this character where you're kind of sympathetic for them. And I hate how they do that nowadays, is they like make you sympathetic towards the villain in a lot of movies, like Cruella de Vil, all this stuff. They make you, and I don't like it. There is evil in this world. Stop trying to like justify it somehow by like, well, I use, hurt people do hurt people. But I despise this movie as a Texas Chainsaw Massacre part of the franchise. And I know people are gonna be like, "Oh, I kind of liked it." I don't care.
Yeah, it just I don't know. I don't know. I feel bad because I'm sure it's like I have no idea how difficult it is to make a movie
I know, I know. I
and stuff
understand
like
that.
that. And I always say that, but that doesn't change the fact that I think it's shockingly bad.
They changed something that I love into something that it wasn't like that doesn't even make sense. Like that the
Yeah.
whole character change is what really made it bad for me.
Yeah. And like even like I was reading some of the stuff, so like received mixed to negative reviews. It was criticized. The criticism was all directed at the story,
Yeah, of
pacing, and
course.
divergence from the original Texas Chainsaw elements. Some people praised it for its unique take on the origin story and performances by actors and actresses. Um, yeah, weird. Like I don't know, like that whole
It's
thing. Like
all it's
it's
already been
apparent.
done though.
Yeah, yeah,
Like the origin story thing and like all this
and
like
done better.
what were
So
they trying to achieve? Like it's a totally different storyline, technically. So okay, if you would have made this a character in a horror film and you would have started this from the very beginning, like there's some scenes I do enjoy in the film, or kill scenes or weird things they added which are not like terrible. But you're taking something that's already been designed and already has a fan base and is already living in the ether, in the subconscious, and in the social environment, the cultural movement of horror and stuff like that. You're taking something and then you're altering it so much that the fan base is going to hate the movie regardless if it was good or not.
yeah, yeah, and this is another one I think that they I don't know. I don't understand trying to like I had seen stuff here where it says the film attempted to present a different take on the Leatherface origin compared to previous entries such as Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning, offering a new narrative that diverges from the established lore. Yeah, but why would you like something that's done pretty good?
Mhm.
Then why would you try and redo that again only for it to be shit? And then like to have the two directors like they're I think they're French. They made a movie which was actually pretty good called Inside in 2007,
Yeah.
but like it was kind of art housey like horror, and I feel like they tried to be like edgy with this as well and be like, oh, let's do like a art housey piece on Texas Chainsaw and like do a whole thing.
Have they
I
seen the movie before?
I think the original plan was this was supposed to like uh blow up the Texas Chainsaw franchise again and get all these different sequels and storylines and shit, and it just like fell apart altogether. But then I also found out that the script went through uh more than several drafts and revisions with significant changes made to the story's direction and tone of the film right up until and including during filming.
See, and that's where you always it's where always there's the downfall is them trying to push things through and write on the fly. Any movie worth its salt, uh, they have something hashed out. They know the direction, they know the story before they go into it. There's some movies that are, end up being kind of, I don't know, like a miracle where they're able to kind of slap it together and it's pretty decent. But most of the most, the most praised movies, some of the best movies in cinema have always been the ones that like really had a good storyline and it was hashed out in the details and they refined the characters. Where like you don't have it in this one, man. You're like trying to throw in people like Stephen Dorff and fucking Lily Taylor to like make it something to try to bring these new age horror fans, or it's disappointing, man.
Yeah, it really is.
Let's take the chick from The Conjuring. Sure, she's popular. Throw her in there. Like it's so dumb. And Stephen Dorff, he played a vampire once. Fucking throw him in there. It just I did not like it. I'm sorry. Not
um,
sorry.
just to put salt in the wounds, then we have another Tom's taglines.
Here we go. Do I have any like really down music? That'd be very funny. Witness. The most terrible movie in horror. I'm just kidding. Witness the beginning of your end. Meet the world's most ruthless serial killer. The legend lives on, but not that long. Leatherface, the origin story of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Thanks, that's a good tagline. The monster lies within. Within what? Where's he lying in?
Yeah.
The legend lives on. Not very long, though.
Yeah. For one movie, barely.
Yeah.
Before we had to
rewatching it just actually like it's only until sitting here now thinking about it, and I've smoked a joint, so you think I'd be calm, but like it aggravates me even more.
So the Sawyer house scene in the 1974 original film was rebuilt for the filming of Leatherface. This is Toby Hooper's final film as a producer before his death from natural causes on
Wow,
August
why would he let them do it?
17.
Trying to make his money for his kids.
Those things. Chronologically, this film takes place before Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1974.
Well,
and
no
is then
shit.
followed by Texas Chainsaw 3D in the Lionsgate continuity of the series. The film depicts Leatherface as a functional human being that has his mind and face destroyed through extensive trauma. However, this concept of Leatherface's backstory is not exclusive to the film. The narration to the third issue of the 1991 comic, also titled Leatherface, describes his backstory. He was born an imbecile, then bad things were done to him that made him hurt and made him fear. Bad things that virtually destroyed what little mind he had. Born an idiot and made a monster. Scarcely human. On the DVD commentary for Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, director Jeff Barr stated, I would say he's mindless as a result of injury. I would have to assume that the catastrophic injury that destroyed his face may have destroyed his vocal cords.
Oh my god.
There's nothing good to say about this. I'm giving this like a 0.5.
Yeah, like I said, they're taking. It's so weird how they're trying to like justify. Like it's everyone knows that Leatherface is an imbecile. Yeah, it's a good way to put it. He's an idiot. He was it's born an idiot, made a monster. Actually, like, because that's kind of what happened. You're okay. There's literally he has the capacity, the mental capacity of a child. That is the point, right? But they turn him animalistic because he doesn't know right from wrong. So he looks at his family, who is murdering people and then eating them. And then he thinks that's normal. That's what he was raised in. Not to mention the cousin fucking shit. Price that doesn't help either. With you saw the royal families and what they turned out like, and they're slack jawed weirdos, and then they maybe cloned them so they didn't look so bad. But like it just we already know and have established the story. It's just crazy to try to toy with it. I was thinking it's like turning, I don't know, Freddy Krueger into a carny that to kill adults. I don't know. It's something so far-fetched and off of what he was made to be. It'd be like saying, Jason Voorhees was Ethan Hawke and then he took steroids and became this kill. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't make sense. I meant Stephen Hawking, not Ethan Hawke. That did not make sense.
This is probably my least favorite one in the entire franchise.
This is probably my least favorite movie I've watched in a while.
Yeah, it's so bad. Like there's like literally like very, very, very little that's redeeming.
If people like it, sure. Like what you like. There's some horrible movies I'd like. Probably people are like, why would you like that stuff? Or that's not No, that's not funny. Like what you like. I just don't like it, especially because I am a huge fan of this franchise of Leatherface. He's up there, you know. It's like, to me, it's like Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, and Leatherface is in that like fourth, fifth position, With Chucky up there. Like these are like staples within the slasher horror franchise. And to kind of toy with it so much, you're an idiot. And you did this, like, this is your fault. Why nobody liked it.
Speaking of nobody liking it, we will move on to the most recent and final movie in the franchise as of Thursday or Wednesday, October 16th, 2024, which is Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022, released on February 18th via Netflix, directed by David Garcia. Funny, actually, produced by Fede Alvarez, who was probably best known for Alien Romulus recently, Evil Dead 2013 remake.
Did like that.
So let's see. He also helped with the script writing. It was produced by Legendary Pictures and distributed by Netflix. It has a runtime of 81 minutes, which is like quite short. Estimated budget of $20 million.
Wow.
Obviously, we don't know any sort of box office money on the back end because it was released exclusively on Netflix. The original plan was for this to come out in theaters, and I think they test screened it and like they brought it to a couple of different distributors, and they were like, "Garbage. We don't want this."
That's funny. It's weird because there's a couple of things I like about this film, and then there's a lot of things that I don't like.
Same. And like I'm kind of a little bit weary about getting into some of the things I don't like because it's probably not for this show.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say, why do you have to make everything woke? Not everybody is on board with that shit. I
just want to watch a movie called Texas Chainsaw Massacre about a dude called Leatherface who hacks people up. I don't want all your bullshit.
I don't want your agenda, because realistically, that's what it is. If you want to be like, whatever you want to do, let your freak flag fly or whatever. And hopefully it doesn't harm you or other people in the process of it. But the thing is that like not everybody needs this shoved down their throat in every movie of this Marxist agenda. That's a little tidbit of that's a sneak peek into Strange Brew podcast. But like realistically, right? Why do you have to add these things into the movie it's not doing anything to benefit the characters?
Yeah,
because people want to be represented. Like, look at the poster. Does this chick look like she could fight off a psychopath? It's the one that the photo with he's like in the back. The mask I actually don't mind and stuff like that. And there's some part like look at that shit. Like, what you think that she's gonna fight off a psycho? She looks like a little girl.
Not for me.
Is that weird?
At all.
Yeah. But like, and that was my problem, right? Is the idea of like, and this has happened through other movies that I think are the equally kind of, but the idea of having like, yes, have the final girl, that's a staple, but not some of these like you can't have like a little girl going against like a deranged psychopath. And then, she learned how to shoot a gun 5 seconds ago and now she knows.
Also, another thing, and people are probably going to give me a lot of shit for this, but I wasn't a big fan of the like school shooter survivor thing.
Yeah, of course. Another thing, they have to add their agenda.
Like, I was like, what has this got to do with anything?
No. Got a way to take away guns and justify it, even though if anyone wants to look, I'm not going to say it, but just look up the last, I think it was four or five school shooters. Tell me what's the same about all of them.
It's like, I just don't know why you'd bring that into a movie called Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like,
it's not filmed in fucking Texas, man.
And it's like, it's that thing of like, that's what I liked about Terrifier, actually, which is the most recent movie I've seen it, like I went to go see because I was able to, I was able to just have fun with a movie and there was no like weird agenda or like weird like background, like, oh, by the way, we had to insert all this crap that doesn't have anything to do with it.
Have you thought about being gay today?
Yeah, it's, there was none of that. Like, it was literally just about a clown who was like some weird demon thing, and he was just hacking people up. And it
Yeah,
was just
that's what this could have been. And the thing
Yeah.
is, like, there's skate. I like some of the scenes. His face
Same.
is pretty gnarly. The way
Yep.
that it's shot, when they first crashed that car or whatever, and
Yeah.
and then he's like cutting the guy's face off, and then he's
Yeah.
like going, and you can see it through the mirrors. Like, there was good things about the way it was shot. I'll admit that. When he whatever those, what is that Texas? What is that supposed to be? Dandelions or something that they're dead? Oh, they are.
Sunflowers.
There's not dandelions. I meant sunflowers, but yeah, the sunflowers, but like dead sunflowers. Him standing up. When I saw the, do you have that picture? I have it pulled up if we need to.
Which?
When he's standing up in the field.
Oh no, again, pull it up
Here.
there. I don't know the one you're talking about though.
It is like when I saw the trailer for this and this comes up, I was like, oh man, this looks fucking awesome. You know, I was like, that's creepy, and that sound of like the crickets or whatever. I was actually kind of excited for it, and then we got what we got. So, and then they're like, okay, this worked for Halloween or all these like, let's bring back the arc hero, the final girl that survived, and they bring back that old ass fucking lady, and it's like it's more of a redeeming quality. I didn't mind it a little bit, but it's not well acted in my opinion.
Yeah.
It doesn't come across well.
But it's just fucking for me, right? So she's Irish, that actress, and
I'm not saying I'm that she's a bad actress. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it just didn't blend.
But she was terrible in that role anyway. She seemed like a bad actress, to be honest with you, and I can say that outright. And her character was literally pointless because it literally, like, and I don't care who hears me saying this, right? So I had David Garcia on the show. Super nice guy, had a lot of really cool things to say. None of this is a knock on him, because I know he won't outright come and say this himself for fear of maybe backlash or whatever. So I will say this, and this has nothing to do with anything he said to me, but there was two Irish directors who originally were supposed to make this movie, and they had a falling out with some of the executives and production company in Bulgaria the week that they were going to shoot, and they walked off the movie. So David Garcia gets a phone call and says, like, you need to be in Bulgaria in like 2 days, and just gets landed into the middle of a film set. And I don't think he was like overly well received by some of like the actors and things. I think they were a bit like put out by this whole thing.
Yeah.
So unfortunately for that guy, I feel like from talking to him, he tried his best to make something that he was somewhat proud of in ways, but he was like, there was a lot of things that were, I was just kind of told like, it has to be this way. And don't get a choice. And he was, and like, look, I get it, because if I was a filmmaker and I got a phone call right now and somebody said, hey, I want to fly to Bulgaria for a month and make a new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, I can't say I would turn that down and be like, well, this is morally wrong, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah, I agree.
You would probably say, okay, I'll go. And then when you get there and realize, wait a second, I have no say.
And he hasn't done much stuff.
And it's unfortunate for him, because it kind of puts him in a weird catch-22, because it's like, you don't want to say no to the opportunity, but then it's like, once you make this movie, then the unfortunate part is his name is on it, so everybody blames him for everything that's wrong.
I know, and I agree with that. That's not always the director. Sometimes not even the writer. And now, and like that was, I was looking through his resume, and he's done a bunch of stuff, but the most prominent thing is Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
You know what's funny then? I'm like,
why? It's weird. Why is it rated well?
Oh, why do executives even bother hiring writers or directors if they're the ones who want to make the movie? Like, I can't understand, right? So let's say you're a writer, and let's just say Chelsea, for example, is a director, right? And I want to make a movie, and I have the money, and I hire you, and your skill is writing stories, and her skill is directing movies. And then I sit there and I tell you guys how to do your job and what you're going to do. I'm like, why don't I just cut you out then and I just do it myself if I know everything?
We've seen this so many times though, with even like is and Nightmare on Elm Street, like all these other deep dives, I've done the exact same thing. At some point, a Halloween one's coming. I can't wait to tear apart Yeah. Anyways, but it's sad that it ends up coming to this stuff, and for yeah, okay. There's something like his face looks messed up in some of the scenes. Like he is a creepy looking, but the characters are
Those two chicks,
unbearable.
I'm gonna say it out there now. I literally cannot stand them.
Yeah, unbearable. They want to add this like, oh man. For once, you know what I like to see, and I like we've seen it before, but I'm like, make just a strong male character like fucking Buster Rhymes that kicks the ass of the villain. You know what I mean? Like, I was excited for this. I really was. The trailer kind of intrigued me. It looked aesthetically the way that it was shot. It looked well. Like even some of the scenes we're looking at right now. It looks, yeah. Some of the for the character, some of the images that we got for Leatherface is pretty awesome.
That dude lives a town over from me.
What?
That guy, he's from a town over from where I live.
That's pretty cool. You still live there? Go have a drink with him. Tell him how much you hate this movie.
I wonder what he'd say about that.
Yeah, but like as at the same time as I was gonna say, it is they were inserting an agenda in this film. If you don't recognize that, then you're probably part of it. Oh yeah, it's terrible. And have this little girl like go against a villain and the don't shoot thing, man, it's so stupid. And like there's like that scene, terrible though. It looked cool, but the physical strength you would have to be able to do that in a quick second is like, wow. And there's some good gore in this, and when you like his jaw's all hanging off, that's pretty wild. But man, weird. Some that I will say that the bus scene when he comes on the bus and they're like, look at this guy's costume or whatever, and like the Asian kids like they're all on their phones, and he starts like taking pictures or going he's live on Snapchat or something. I think that's pretty funny. Like I was like, that's the kids you want to see dead, and I was like, but there is a part of me that they make it pretty woke, which I think
she's wearing like the cowboy hat and all at the end. It's like, oh.
And then they're being like anti-gun, but then it saved them. So like there was a part of me that they were kind of it was tongue-in-cheek, kind of making fun of the woke agenda stuff.
There's my favorite part actually when he chops her head off.
Oh yeah. But like, you know what I mean? Because technically they're kind of like they joke about the guns. Yeah, that scene. How much do you pay this guy? They're like they're all it's like live on Instagram or whatever, something like that. And but like the whole time they're kind of like, oh, these woke California people coming out to buy this land or to do something with it, this little town. And then for them to kind of go against all their natural instincts of you can't film stuff on your phone. You're going to get murdered. Like to be able to survive some of this stuff. But I don't like that the little girl literally saves the day. But, it is kind of funny because then they use a gun for the very same thing that they were, you know what I mean? That they were complaining about. So it kind of makes fun of that, that I don't know, that frame of thinking.
Even like you were saying about like the idea of Sally Hardesty coming back after all these years.
So
and like obviously, look, I know it's a different actress and blah blah blah, but like even the way they wrote that,
I thought it was the same actress.
No, and like even the way they wrote that backstory, it like so they literally carbon copied Jamie Lee Curtis's character from
I know.
Fucking
Halloween.
She
was off of The Watcher. I was like, I knew she looked familiar.
But then it's like she has no real impact because she comes back and she's dead in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I know. It's so dumb, man.
Like this big return. They try and build it up like this big return, and she literally gets killed in 2 seconds.
Like, why wouldn't you have done it in a way where it wasn't the same, like you said about Halloween and like is a carbon copy and
like if you literally look at them side by side, it's the exact like the way she does the whole thing with the gun and all, and she's like, I've been waiting for 40 years and all this shit, and I'm like, wow, that's literally what Jamie Lee Curtis says.
They literally just copied that in that movie. The first one I did like, it did well, but they totally copied it. Why not make it something different? Man, why not make it like she's an investigator now and then she hears about this or something like that. Like make it different. You're like, oh, I don't know, I'm not a fan of this. There's
No.
there's shots I don't mind. There's kills I don't mind. The look of Leatherface I think is pretty gnarly, and I actually kind of really like. But it's everything else in between the bread that makes the sandwich stale.
Yeah, like, I like Leatherface. I like a lot of the gore and kills, some of
Yeah,
the set pieces, but,
yeah,
like, it's just the storyline and the characters are fucking just dreadful.
yeah. It's not good, and they're starting to see that people don't want this anymore. So keep doing it, Netflix. You'll see. We'll see. You'll see. We'll see. We'll all see. Yeah.
You know, it's like, give me like,
And
you
that
could have
scene at the
even
end
made
where she
like,
just kind of like hits him with
God,
the chainsaw is so dumb. God, I hate it.
like, everything about it, I'm like, "Oh god, I hate those 2 chicks so much." No offense to the actual women that, like, play
Yeah, yeah,
those
yeah.
characters, whatever, but, like, I just oh god, those characters, I'm sorry, the way they were written was just if that was me, I don't think I'd be able to take that role. I'd be like, "I can't
No.
do
Well, and
this."
this is like this is what reminded me, and eventually we'll end up talking about stuff like this, which I didn't mind, not saying anything, but it just reminded me of like the Evil Dead Rise. I'm like, oh, you fucking
Yeah,
insert
yeah,
fucking agendas in everywhere, man. For
yeah,
movies and things that I love that they don't need that. They don't. It's not
and it kills
necessary.
me because it's like you said, I can see the glimmers of, like, this could have been actually a really good movie,
I know.
and it's
They
like you
choose to do stuff like this.
yeah, you've taken away, like, this shit,
I know.
like, where
I
we're having
know.
flashbacks and all, and I'm like, "What?" It's nothing
Oh,
to
the
do.
school shooting flashbacks are so weird, man. Like, it's so bizarre. Like, and people don't want to acknowledge this, but this is a fact that, the little things that are put in movies, it's subliminal messaging. They're allowed to, like they can tap into your subconscious using some of these tactics and then persuade your opinion on things that you thought you were on the other side of. So, like, it is I hate when they add that stuff in the movies. Like, make a movie enjoyable and stop adding your weird agenda and,
And do you
people
know what
be
else
what you
is
want, do
wild?
what you want, but it's fucking weird.
I don't know if people realize this, but, go back to the original Texas Chainsaw,
Yeah.
right? Think about that for a second. Then even go to the 2003 remake
Mhm.
of Texas Chainsaw, right? Do you remember any of the characters having to, like, explain that they had, like, some weird, like, sexual abuse or, like, discriminated against because of something or whatever? No.
Yeah.
They were just regular people who were getting killed.
Yeah, it's crazy. And at the end of the day, this is a horror podcast. You use stuff like this on Strange Brew, but like it is a divide and conquer tactic. You're just using all these subtle. You're black. You're white. You're gay. You're straight. And they're using all of this stuff to just divide us. When just like let people be people and don't force your beliefs down other people's throats. That's like which just a simple thing to live by, you know. But then
We
at
have
the
to
same time, I was like at the same time, if your government is persuading you and the people in power are manipulating you to believe the things that you believe, that I might say something. And you should probably just clue into, you know, what they're trying to show you, or teach you.
um, now we
Pew,
have the
pew.
fun part of this before we start wrapping it up, which is another Tom's taglines.
Oh, I forgot about this. I was like,
This one won't
what,
be that hard.
what do I have on this? Oh, in 1974, the world witnessed one of the most bizarre crimes in the annals of history, American history. Annals. In 2002, the face of madness. It returns. It returns. Does it now? It returns.
Quite boring. Uh, John Larroquette narrates the opening of the film, as well as the original in 1974 and the remake in 2003. Um, Initially, during the development of Leatherface 2017, the producers had the film rights and intention to make 5 more Texas Chainsaw Massacre
I
films.
had the potential, you retards.
Right.
Sorry.
Oh my. Um, in April 2015, producer Krista Campbell stated that the fate of the potential sequels will largely depend on the financial and critical reception to Leatherface. Well, we know how that went.
Yeah.
By December 2017, Lionsgate Millennium Films had lost the film rights due to the amount of time it took to release Leatherface. And in August 2018, it was reported that Legendary Pictures had entered preliminary negotiations to purchase the film rights to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, with the studio intending to adapt television and film installments. On August 24th, 2020, initial directors and brothers Ryan and Andy Tohill split from the project during the film's first week of production in Bulgaria. The
Yeah,
duo was replaced by David Blue Garcia, who scrapped and reshot the previous footage. But
okay.
one thing I'll mention about that
Yeah.
is people are kind of like misconceived or whatever about that. So it says, yeah, okay, he scrapped and reshot what they had already done, but he was just reshooting the same material, just in his
Yeah.
own. They made him still make the same movie.
Well, and that's why I was gonna say that, man, like it's beautifully shot, and you realistically, right? You can't blame the director for the writing of the film or the agenda or script that they end up putting in the film. You're just the director's whole job is to take a story, something that somebody wrote, or a music video, or a vision that somebody else has, and then try to shoot the best interpretation of the vision that is on the said writing of piece of paper. So like this movie was beautifully shot, very disappointing of the storyline, could have been way better. um these people will learn, and they're starting to learn that you trying to fit in your agenda within movies does not go very well, because you're catering towards a very small portion of the mass population, and that's a fact. That is a fact. Everybody, facts are facts. Sorry you don't like it. It's facts.
It'll be interesting to see where it goes from here, to be honest,
Yeah,
because I can't imagine they're
like
going to do
midnight
like
your time.
sequel or anything to this.
Yeah.
Um, I just don't see it. Um, so will we just get another reboot again?
Reboot again.
That's
Stop.
probably what
Like let somebody else do it, man.
I wonder, do you think it would work in TV format?
You'd have to really hash out a story, though.
Yeah, and I feel like you would really have to have
You can't do what you do with Chucky and make it just absurd.
yeah, and you'd have to, I think, really flesh out the family. So you need to get some really good character actors to play the different
Yeah,
you know,
dynamics of the
I
story.
don't know if you could just have Leatherface not talking, going around every episode and killing people.
Yeah,
You would
just
have
taking
to have,
pills.
like, a sheriff character and an
Yeah,
old dude and a this and a that, but then it's like, you can't just cast anybody either, because I feel like that will fuck the whole thing up as well.
I got a better idea. Well, people get mad because it would be a different story, but I'm like, make like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, right? Redo it. Still have the mentally like his character, who he is, but have it like set almost like an Ed Gein story, where he's obsessed with his mother, and then his mother dies, and it can show other family members dying throughout his life or whatever, and then he's left alone, and he starts like making like suits out of like dead bodies, makes a belt, tries it on, dances in front of the mirror with his dick tucked
I
between his
knew
legs.
it. I knew it. I was like, he's lulling everybody into a false sense of security here, that this is actually going to be a serious idea.
Yeah, and he's like Buffalo Bill. But
Right.
realistically, that would be clever though, and have him like this old disgruntled dude that was like obsessed with his mother, and maybe does do some of those acts and kind of shows it, but then he kind of goes on a rampage. But there's a space for Leatherface, they may say. That there is something that you could do with this character, and make it still stick to the original story or foundations of the character and the film franchise, but create something that would be different and that fans would enjoy. I think there is an opportunity. I think there is something there, but that Netflix shit was not it.
No, it wasn't, unfortunately.
But I
Um,
would rather watch that movie than Leatherface. So let me say
not
that.
same by far.
Yeah.
Um, just before we finish up, right, I just want to run through, like, super quick, with some of the projects that were kind of conceived but never made.
Okay.
Um, so so we had All American Massacre. You've
Yeah,
mentioned
we
this
mentioned
before.
that.
The concept, the project was intended to be a spin-off focusing on Chop Top, the fan favorite character played by Bill Moseley in Texas Chainsaw 2, directed by William Hooper, which is Toby Hooper's son. All American Massacre was conceived as a 60-minute film that would dive deeper into Chop Top's backstory. The film was set to take place 13 years after Texas Chainsaw 2, with Chop Top escaping from a mental institution and giving an interview to a reporter, recounting his life and the origins of the Sawyer family.
Weird.
A significant portion of the film was shot and a trailer was released, but the project was never completed due to budgetary constraints and rights issues. Footage from the film has occasionally surfaced online, but remains officially unreleased. That's kind of interesting. That would have been cool. That would have been cool to see, like a movie for Chop Top.
Yeah, if we can find the footage, we should watch it for Patreon or something.
Okay, we have Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D Part 2. After the release of Texas Chainsaw 3D in 2013, it was intended to be a direct sequel to the 1974 original. The producers planned a follow-up title, Texas Chainsaw 4. This film would have continued the story of Heather Miller and the newfound member of the Sawyer family as she grapples with her heritage and Leatherface's ongoing rampage. The sequel would have further explored Heather's relationship with Leatherface, diving into the legacy of the Sawyer family and their control over the local town. It would have likely continued the narrative of Leatherface as an anti-hero figure protecting his cousin while dealing with new threats. Despite initial enthusiasm, the project never advanced beyond the development stage. Declining box office returns and negative critical reception for Texas Chainsaw 3D likely contributed to its cancellation. That would have been fucking dreadful, I'd say.
It kind of sounds terrible, not gonna lie.
That would have been dreadful. Here's an interesting one.
I became an anti-hero. That's so dumb.
Leatherface versus Jason. Following the success of
Battle of the I've used that word too many times. The Battle of the Riris,
Oh God.
So weird. What, like, the two mentally handicapped guys are gonna battle that were both abused as kids and turn into monsters. Weird.
New Line Cinema considered a crossover film that would pit Leatherface against Jason Voorhees. The idea was to bring together two of horror's most iconic killers in a battle similar to Freddy vs. Jason. Various ideas were floated, including a storyline where Jason ends up in Texas and clashes with the Sawyer family, leading to a showdown with Leatherface. The film would have played on the similarities and differences between the two killers. The project never moved forward due to a combination of legal issues, creative differences, and concerns over the feasibility of such a crossover. Rights issues in particular were a major hurdle, as Friday the 13th and Texas Chainsaw were owned by different entities.
I hate when they try to do that. Don't even attempt it if you think they're gonna, like, they're gonna be able to. It never works.
Yeah, why bother? Like, we have Texas Chainsaw Massacre 5. After Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, New Line Cinema considered continuing the story with a different sequel that would further develop Leatherface's character and possibly reveal more about the Sawyer family. Not much is known about the exact plot of this proposal, but it was rumored to explore the aftermath of the third film and possibly bring back some characters from the earlier movies. The film was intended to be darker and more aligned with the tone of the first film. The project never materialized due to poor box office returns and New Line shifting focus to other franchises such as A Nightmare on Elm Street. Let's see, we have another few here.
The versus one, if they did it like Freddy versus Jason, I would watch it.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Hunt. Around the early 2000s, one idea that surfaced was a film that would take a survival horror approach, where a group of characters would be hunted by Leatherface and the Sawyer family in the Texas wilderness. The film was intended to have a darker, more atmospheric tone, focusing on suspense and survival rather than straightforward slasher. The story was rumored to involve a group of hikers or campers who accidentally stumble into Sawyer territory and are subsequently hunted for sport. The film would have drawn from the horror subgenre of human hunting, with Leatherface playing a central role as both hunter and enforcer of the family's brutal traditions. Project never advanced beyond early discussions, and the idea was eventually shelved. Here's another one. You'll love this
How
one.
did we get that one, man? That would have been fucking
That would have been
sick.
cool. Yeah, that would have been cool. Here's one you'll love.
Leatherface is a tranny.
Leatherface versus Michael Myers. Yeah. Another crossover idea that was considered was a film that would bring Leatherface into conflict with Michael Myers from the Halloween franchise.
I feel like that one
This would
makes
have
more
been,
sense though because they're both human. Like
yeah, yeah.
Jason's not human. Jason's a deadite.
Um, this would have been another horror showdown between iconic killers, likely set in a rural setting that could blend the aesthetic of both franchises. The plot was to center around the two killers crossing paths in the small town or rural area, possibly involving the Myers house or Leatherface's farmhouse. The film would have featured brutal confrontations between the two, with the town caught in the crossfire. As with Leatherface versus Jason, legal issues and conflicting studio interests prevented this idea from moving forward. Um, Texas
Yeah,
Chainsaw Massacre: The Last Saw. In the mid 2010s, there were rumors of a film titled The Last Saw that would supposedly be the final entry in the franchise, bringing the story of Leatherface and the family to a definitive close. The film was rumored to be a brutal, no holds barred conclusion, offering a definitive ending to the saga. Speculative ideas suggested that the film would have involved a final showdown between Leatherface and a group of survivors, possibly including characters from previous films. The narrative was expected to offer a resolution to Leatherface's story, possibly exploring his death or retirement from killing. Concrete
he just
information about the
scuttles back
project.
to the basement and closes the door.
Yikes. These are just some of the unmade Texas Chainsaw Massacre films that highlight the franchise's potential to explore various themes and directions. Blah blah blah.
They
However,
all
due
sound like
to
garbage except for the Hunt one.
despite all of this, the franchise continues to be a significant part of horror cinema, with new interpretations and sequels keeping Leatherface's legacy alive. Hmm.
Yeah, weird. The Hunt one is actually a good idea. That
Yeah,
would
I
make
like
for a good
that.
film, not gonna lie. Trying to do the versus thing again, I feel like you only strike fire once, you know? But
Yeah.
like I
I mean, look, I would have watched it,
yeah,
but
so would I.
it probably would
And
have
I
been
probably
fun.
would have liked some of it. Like if they did it right. As long as your woke crap's not in there. Just kidding. But like
Yeah, then I'm down.
but I don't like Jason makes more sense because they're both kind of brutal. And Jason to kind of just stumble in and be like, "Oh, whoops, didn't mean to show up here." But the Michael thing, Michael's calculated, slow, and he's like he hides in the shadows, right? He's always creeping. I feel like that wouldn't.
Mm,
I don't know. Other than what they try to do with him in the fucking the goddamn Gordon Green terrible, just like make him get beat up and all that stuff. Like he did fight Busta Rhymes once, so that's pretty cool. I'll bring that up again.
that is pretty cool, to be fair. I don't hate I really don't hate that.
And we did that as a commentary, everybody. So if you want to support the Patreon, that's the best way.
But yeah, I still say probably out of the entire franchise, I'm gonna
Oh yeah,
say that 2003 remake is my favorite.
Jessica Biel alone steals the show.
Um, yeah, that's a plus for me, but I don't even really care about that.
Fuck that bitch.
Um, but
I had
yeah,
fun
anything
with this one. Some of them are really fucking bad though, man.
do you have anything else to add or
I would say out of all the franchise, what? Did you say fuck? Did you say fuck?
no?
I thought you said fuck. And I was like, what? What happened now?
Nope.
Out of all the franchises though, like as the full thing, like when you're talking about like Halloween, Friday 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, I feel like this is the most misses. A couple of good, really good hits. Almost more hits, you could say, than like more near the bullseye than some of the Friday 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street movies. But there is, I felt, or Halloween's, but I feel like there is more good Halloween movies, even though some of them are terrible, or Friday 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street, even Chucky, than there is Texas Chainsaw Massacres because there's so many duds that it does make a big impact. 2's I enjoyed when I was a kid, but it's fucking weird. 3 is not that great. 4 is fucking horrible. The remake's great. The beginning is pretty dang good. 3D's weird. Then Leatherface is terrible, and then like it's just like So there's too many like misses for me to be like, it's a really good franchise. And like there's some, and the original is always going to be one of the freakiest, weirdest movies that they put out in the 70s for sure. And that changed horror forever. Still doesn't change the fact that there were some duds, you know?
Yeah, no, it was. And like, yeah, I would say the same. It probably has more duds than a lot of them, but the ones they
There's some
got right,
mothballs in those
like,
candy containers, you know?
but then the ones that they got right were like
Yeah,
really, really right.
I agree. So
Um,
right that there might be far right.
oh God,
I'm kidding.
we've done that wrong. No, it's currently 12:36 a.m.
Yeah.
as of recording this. Tom
Even
is
the
probably
white.
going to like chill out and get his dinner, and
Yeah, I
I'm
have
like
to go eat.
cross-eyed at
I
this
know.
point.
It's so funny because Chelsea's like, "Aren't you almost done?" And I was like, "2 more horrible movies." Yeah,
We
I
probably
did
could have.
enjoy this a lot, though.
This was fun, I think,
I
and
did
like,
think it
there's
was
not
fun.
much out there as regards Texas Chainsaw, so I feel like hopefully we done the audience justice in having something else to listen to and like different opinions and
Yeah.
maybe some more information you didn't hear, or a different way of looking at it or whatever, or just had fun for 2 hours and escaped the reality of your everyday terrible life.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's what we kind of want to do. And that's what we've always wanted to do with this show and my show is have it like, yeah, we talk about some crazy stuff on both ends, but to have it more of an entertainment purpose of like just trying to like help people enjoy their lives. And if I made a couple people laugh or even cringe, I feel like I've succeeded, you know? So, and it is a good escape for a lot of people. And some of the weirder ones I enjoy more because it's just like, a lot of it's opinion, right? There's like, and that's what I was there could be stuff that people love about all these that we're shitting on, or like, oh, I like that part of this, or I liked when she said, do your thing, cuz he's like, that was my favorite part of the movie because I fucked my cousin, or something like that. I'm just kidding. But
Oh,
that's in his perspective, not my perspective. But he relates to it somehow. He's like, I said that to my cousin once, you know. Do your thing, guys. Just laying on the fucking the hay bale that they like, live on or whatever, because that's what I picture that they sleep on is a hay bale
by the
because
way,
they're
I'm just like, what situation would you ever be in to be like, do your thing, cuz?
Do you think, guys? There's only one situation, and we all know it, as I was alluding to. But like, it's just opinions and just like having fun, and it might not reflect everybody's, but that's the whole point of these movies or these conversations and stuff like that. Is not everyone's gonna like everything, right? So, suck it.
So if you don't agree with us, then let us know in the comments. Make sure direct all the abuse to Strange.
Don't do it. We already got enough, man. We already have enough, dude. There's so,
and
like
all the nice stuff. Give it to Class R.
there's a lot of good reviews on my end, but there's some that are just like, what the fuck? These guys are idiots. And it's just like, whatever, man. I don't even care. It's just, it is funny because there's been a couple of reviews on my end that are like, come on, man. You got mad over that. So that's just life.
I've had my fair share as well of things.
I didn't like that you said that. I don't care. Where's your podcast?
But this is the joy of free speech. But anyway, if you've stuck with us this long, I hope you enjoyed this. There's so much more to come. We have so many more deep dives and commentaries, and exclusives, and true crime, and all sorts of stuff. There's no point in
all I
keeping
have is ideas.
Make sure and support the show. Probably the best place to follow this show is at First Class Horror on Instagram, is where I'm most active, but I'm also on X. We're on YouTube, iTunes.
He's on TikTok, but we're all shadow banned there. So.
TikTok, Rumble, everywhere. But yeah, just follow on Instagram and you'll find all the latest stuff on there.
Yeah, if you're new to Rumble, subscribe to Rumble. Rumble's a good platform. I really want to shut that out. The YouTube sucks.
I think Tom has shares in Rumble.
It's in Toronto. I don't though, but
see, now I know. Now, there we go.
I don't know how to invest, man. You're kidding me?
Chill. Government chill. Okay, well, we're gonna end this now because we always do this, but we keep talking. Yeah.
Stay horny. Stay horny for horror.
Please do. Stay horny for horror and keep us in. I was gonna say keep us in a job, but we actually make no money from this, so
maybe one day.
Give us a job.
Do I make you horny?
Do I make you horny? Yes, you do, Tom. Thanks, everybody.